discussion going on at Water Sanitation Conference 2023 being our hashtag for this conference. Thank you. Let me now hand over to our CEO, WASPA, Mr. Anthony Ambugo, to take it over from there. Thank you.
Let's appreciate my co-MC. Let's appreciate him, please. Thank you very much. Our chief guest, His Excellency, the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, who will be joining us shortly. Our illustrious Cabinet Secretary in charge of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Honorable Alice Wahome, CS Salim Vuria, who is in charge of Mining and Blue Economy, our PS Water, Dr. Kiprono Rono, other PSS present, embassies, foreign missions, state agencies represented here, water service providers, international associations, and all delegates. Allow me, Chief Guest, to inform this gathering why the four partners, the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, the organizing partners, the Council of Governors, Water Services, Water and Sanitation Providers Association, and also the host county government of Mombasa came up with this conference. We have 7 years to ensure that we achieve Sustainable Goal Development number 6, that requires we provide universal access to safely managed water and sanitation to our populace in the different nations, in the communities of nations. But we have two unprecedented challenges that have faced us globally. One, the COVID-19 pandemic slowed down business, decimated economies, and disrupted activities. And that is why the UN report on water alludes that after post-pandemic, all the nations in the world went off track in terms of achieving Sustainable Development Goal number 6. The other unprecedented global challenge that is facing us is the issue of climate change. And what is coming out clearly from COP27, which was held in Egypt last year, is that the crisis of climate change is a crisis water. And we believe that if the crisis of water is fixed, we are able to address the issues of climate change. So the organizers of this conference picked the accelerator, and that forms our main theme, harnessing technology and innovation to accelerate access to safely managed water and sanitation for all. As a country, we have not been spared. According to Joint Monitoring Program 2002, our water coverage as a nation is at 70%, and for sanitation, safely managed sanitation is at 32%. So basic sanitation is at 88%, according to Impact Report, issue number 14. We are glad that after this, WASREB is going to launch Impact Report number 15, and we will be able to see the progress on the indicator. So just in brief, as the organizing partners, our specific objectives is to ensure that one is technology and innovations for promotion of good governance. It has been alluded that in different areas, the crisis of water is a crisis of governance. So we believe we have people here from different parts of the world. International Water Association is joining us online, and also AFWA is here. We're also looking, number 2, at leveraging innovative financing, the PPP, which is under a manifesto under the Kenya Kwanza government. We're also going to look at the issue of big data, smart meterings. How do we provide real-time information? And that is why the Ministry of ICT is here. We're also going to look at capacity development. Universities are represented here. So those are the 4 specific objectives that we need to achieve. And without much ado, because of your busy schedule, CS, allow me at this juncture to invite the PS, Dr. Kiprono Rono. Why don't we appreciate the CS State Department of Water and Sanitation so that he can welcome the CS.
All right, good. Thank you, CEO. Our chief guest today will join us late in the afternoon. His Excellency, the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, the CS Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Honorable Alice Wahome, the CS in charge of mining, blue economy and maritime, Salim Vuria, the PSS presence, the ambassadors, the governors presence, honorable members of parliament who are present with us, and the senators, and the team of WASPA, the CEO, the county government, our development partners, all our delegates, participants, exhibitors, private sector members who are here. Good morning. I have a singular duty here because I will make my speech later, but because of an urgent activity here we need to make, I would like to welcome our CS, Alice Wahome, to make her remarks and welcome the next guest. Thank you.
Hiyo clap ni kidogo sana. Yeah, bigger and bigger. Yeah, this weather is very good for us to be dull or to be not responsive. Thank you very much, Dr. Rono. Our chief guest, Rigathi Gachagua, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, Akaligi G, Kandaya Wera, he will be our chief guest. We have in this room another guest of singular importance to me and this conference, CS Muvuria, the CS for blue economy, mining, blue economy, and maritime. He's my good friend. He's in a special place because, you know, he has served as a governor in this region, Kware County, and he has unique experience as a governor. All governors have some experience because of the service provision that they have to give when they are governors in water. And I will not give my remarks now, and I appreciate all the representations that are here. I'll be mentioning the protocols. Allow me to mention the protocols later. My colleague has an engagement in the afternoon, and there is only one flight at around 12 that he has to take. So I want to excuse him, and that's why we have reorganized your program slightly to accommodate him, because I believe his remarks are key and critical. So, Anthony, it's not that we wanted to rush you. I did not want you to say those things you are saying in a hurry. I wanted you to say when you have enough time. So all of you, karibuni sana. On behalf of the Ministry of Water and other partners, of course, the partners in this particular forum is WASPA. We are their guests. I know we have partnered with them, and the county government of Mombasa is critical. So CS Muvuria, take this opportunity to give us a few remarks, then we can all go back to our program, and I appreciate his coming. Let's give him a clap as he comes to the stage. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My colleague, Honorable Alice Wahome, the CS Water, In absentia, I want to recognize His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and all other colleagues who will come later, the governors, the principal secretaries here present, our development partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, let me say that it has not been my wish to rush the program of this conference, but because we have also to balance responsibilities, that is why we are beginning upside down. And thank you, CS, for inviting me. I know the Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs initially was not in the program. But through my colleague, we discussed and we thought it was important that we participate in this conference. And I think that is also one of the issues that we need to deal with, because mining, blue economy, and maritime affairs cannot be divorced from water issues. As I stand here, I also have multiple positionality as a CS, but also a leader in this region. So before I say a few notes on blue economy and water, I want, first of all, to thank His Excellency the President and the Deputy President and the government of Kenya Kwanza through the Ministry of Water for the many mega projects in this region. Because in this region, just recently, the President launched Mwache Dam, and there are quite a number of dams that the ministry is doing in this region to alleviate the challenges of drought. And we are also aware that Mzima 2 is also in the pipeline. So as a region, we don't take this for granted, and we want to thank the government for all these interventions. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya's blue economy has a big potential to drive the future of our economic growth in this country. And that is why the government of Kenya, our president, decided to create a standing ministry for blue economy and maritime affairs. So we are here to tap the potential of this emerging economy to provide room for growth and enhance livelihoods. The range of investments we expect in the blue economy are in fisheries and aquaculture, maritime transport services, tourism, recreation, sea mineral extraction, and processing. We also hope to inspire research, knowledge, and information as we also look at issues of maritime safety and security. Water, therefore, is indeed essential for life, and even though in the blue economy we look at water as a singular intervention for economic development. However, just like the theme of this conference, in blue economy, we also have challenges of pollution in our marine and inland waters. Our freshwater and marine biodiversity and ecosystems are under threat and therefore interfering with fisheries and other ecosystems. These coupled with climate change, effects of climate change is a real big threat, and therefore all the activities that pollute waters are a threat to our development in the blue economy. And instead, the climate change challenges, they compromise our ecological integrity of the environment that supports diversity and it undermines the economic efficiency of the resources that we exploit. Marine pollution is a significant environmental problem, and also in the inland waters where we have Lake Victoria, our largest freshwater lake in Africa. We also have challenges of pollution, and recently we've been losing millions of fish because of issues of pollution. The impacts of climate change has had a much bigger impact on fish catches. We've lost quite a number of fish in cages. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, in the coastal ecosystems, mangrove, seagrass, and tidal marshes mitigate climate change by sequestrating carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and oceans. We have quite a number of programs on mangrove restoration, and we also have a lot of claims that have been made on the carbon credit. Mangroves are very important in the coastal ecosystems, and they provide benefits, including protecting the coastlines from erosion and providing habitat for fish and wildlife. Sustainable practices such as mangrove restoration and conservation help to maintain the health of these ecosystems and support sustainable fisheries and other industries. Other sustainable practices that can support the blue economy include sustainable fishing, maritime protection, and ecosystem-based management. To address some of these challenges that I have quickly highlighted, we propose the following: that we improve wastewater treatment, treating sewage and industrial waste before it is discharged into the lake or ocean, and help reduce the amount of pollutants entering the blue economy. Sustainable fishing practices. We are implementing sustainable fishing practices such as limiting catch sizes and regulating fishing seasons that can help us to prevent overfishing and protect fish populations. We also have programs in planting trees along lakes, rivers that are able to reduce the threats of erosion. We also propose a lot of programs in raising awareness and among local communities so that they are able to take up these activities in a sustainable manner. Job-creating economic sectors like tourism and fisheries, which foster economic growth, food security, and commercial opportunities in the country, depend on a clean and healthy aquatic environment. According to the UN, I think I will not go to many of the statistics, but we have SDG number 6, which talks about issues of potable water and sanitation facilities. Our situation, for example, in Lake Victoria, we have landing sites, and the access to toilet facilities in the landing sites in Lake Victoria in 2020 was 72.3%, and I'm sure as we go along, this percentage is going to improve. Sanitation levels at the landing sites depend a lot with provision of potable water, and the overall supply of potable water along the landing site during the same period was remarkably low, with only 26 sites against 329 having access to it. The government, therefore, is investing in modern infrastructure at the landing sites at both the coast and inland water bodies to support hygienic fish handling and value addition. What this means is that we have mapped out the Indian Ocean. We have also mapped out the lake region for basic landing sites, which will also be centers of value addition. And part of what is going to happen is that we are also going to provide sanitation facilities so that we maintain a clean environment. In the coast, for example, we have mapped out from Lamu in Mokoe, Kipini in Tana River, Kichwa Chakati and Ngomeni in Kilifi, here in Mombasa, Kidongo, and we also have Mwaepe, Gazi, and Vanga landing sites in Kwale County. In the lake region, we have mapped out all the way from Migori, where we have Sori, we have Nyandiwa in Homa Bay, we have Asat and Ogal in Kisumu, we have Luanda Kotieno in Siaya and Wichlum, and we also have Busia, where we have Muluhoba. Those are some of the landing sites that we have mapped out, but we also have a project in Turkana, which is also going to support landing sites and other amenities at a cost of 1.5 billion in the next period. So we are investing in modern infrastructure, but we will depend on water and sanitation to maintain that particular environment. So currently in the ministry, we have ongoing reforms and policies that will be able to resonate and augment the efforts in the blue economy. And for us to be able to do this, we are going to be launching very soon a marine spatial plan, which is going to provide a clear plan and strategy in the interventions in the marine waters. We are also soon going to be launching our national blue economy strategy so that we can be able to provide guidance in all the sectors in the blue economy. So as I conclude, I want to again recommit that the ministry will work very closely with the Ministry of Water and Sanitation and all the stakeholders in the management of our water resources. So I appeal to all stakeholders and partners to support programs that are going to make our blue space more conducive for economic development. And I think with these remarks, I want to say that, you know, the blue economy is a new frontier. It is least understood. So I also want to create awareness in this forum that we need to recognize blue economy every time we talk about water. Because Kenya and the West Indian Ocean countries have just arrived to the blue economy frontier. And everybody now is looking at the potential in the blue economy, and it is important that even as we discuss water issues, we also take cognizance that blue economy is going to play a very critical role. A very critical role, for example, in technology. We are looking at issues of desalination. Desalination requires a lot of investments and a lot of technology to get water for domestic and commercial use. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm very delighted and to say that as Africa arrives at the blue economy destination, it has arrived at a time when the world is also grappling with matters climate change. It has arrived at a time when also the blue economy stakeholding is also telling everybody that there's overfishing in our oceans. That notwithstanding, we need to balance to make sure that we do our economic investments, at the same time take care of our environment and matters climate change. As you can see, I would have said more because blue economy and maritime gives our country and many countries 90% of the international trade. So it is a sector we cannot ignore. It is a sector that we need to understand so that even as we talk about crop husbandry, we also see how we can be able to manage our blue economy resources. With those many remarks, I wish you a fruitful meeting. And even though I'm leaving for Nairobi, my advisor on blue economy, Dr. Lul Abduwahid, will be here throughout to participate in this conference. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Let's give Waziri Mvurya a better round of applause. Thank you very much. You can see why I think there was a serious oversight in program drawing and design, and we are not embarrassed to admit that, because the comments that you have made are clearly supported by water and sanitation. That I am told the hashtag is Water Sanitation Conference 2023. Itembee kabisa, ndio watu wajue we are here in Mombasa for Water Sanitation Conference and Exhibition. Thank you very much, Mvurya. We have heard really that we cannot have a good blue economy, healthy blue economy, if we do not take care of sanitation especially, and provide fresh water for the lives in the ocean. Maritime and blue economy are subjects that are basically new to this particular, I think, region. Maybe they are not new, but awareness creation has been extremely low, and we are grateful that you managed to come to make those particular remarks here with us. You have said you commit the ministry, and you will be able to collaborate with us and the stakeholders who are represented in this conference. Thank you very much. As you go, we want to wish you very well. We will also want to support you in your work. Thank you. I will see you off. In the meantime, Arima and this good gentleman, Wambogo, please now proceed and return the meeting to the other next session. Before the minister goes, why not?
Kayamba Africa, mko wapi? Let's have a jig. Mimi ni mwana Kenya before the CS leaves. Kayamba Africa, let's be on our feet, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, with all due respect, Madam CS, we just want to celebrate Kenya. And we want to do it Kayamba African way. So this is the time you need to enjoy.
Yes, Mike.
That is the Kenya. I don't know what those ladies and gentlemen from our country, Kenya.
Tele.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I understand. There's a beautiful lady called Elizabeth. Elizabeth, are you in the house? Elizabeth, wherever you are. Yeah, we are doing a walk around. This one is yours. Yeah.
Let's appreciate Kayamba Africa. Thank you very much. Now, allow us to transit to plenary address number 1, leveraging innovative financing and technologies to accelerate access to potable water and safely manage sanitation for all, the case study of Israel. Kindly confirm that you have Danny Laka, who is the Senior Division Manager of Water and Security, Emergency and Cyber Security, the Israeli Water Authority, who will be joining us online. And that second session there is collapsed into one. So we'll have both speakers speaking in the same plenary. And on national policies on innovations and technologies for sanitation in sub-Saharan Africa, we are joined by Sulven Usha, who is the ED Executive Director at African Water and Sanitation Association, AFWASA. Usha, you can just wave. You will be joining me here shortly to make that address. And we will be joined in that panel discussion. We have several principal secretaries here whom I'll be able to invite and acknowledge as we move to that. Now, without much ado, Sulvan, allow me to invite you so that you can make your plenary address on national policies on innovations and technologies for sanitation. Then you will be joined by the other panelist discussants led by our PS, Dr. Kiprono Rono. I'll be able to invite you at the appropriate time. Let us put our hands together for Usha, who has traveled all the way from Abidjan. Let's appreciate him. One round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anthony. Ladies and gentlemen, chief guests, your excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, and especially CEOs of WASPA and CEOs of WASREB. First of all, I would like to thank WASPA for inviting me to this session. We met a couple of months ago, and he told me that he would invite AFWA to participate in this conference, and I'm very happy to be here. It's my first time in Mombasa. Not my first time in Nairobi, because the African Water Association had a congress in Nairobi, I think it was in 2016. If some of you were there, you can remember that. But the African Water Association has evolved, and today, like CEO said, it is the African Water and Sanitation Association. We have added sanitation because we think that sanitation is very important, like blue economy, but we need to put sanitation on top of the issues of water and sanitation in Africa. And I'm very happy to do this keynote speech on sanitation. My presentation will be in 5 parts. First of all, I will talk a bit about the history of sanitation in sub-Saharan Africa, why sanitation came very late in sub-Saharan Africa, way after the water provision. Secondly, we will present the sanitation option nowadays. Why today's the option is mainly on-site sanitation. And then in the third part, I will talk about the innovation in technology and sanitation. What are they? And then national policies on innovation and technologies through regulation. And then a conclusion. During the decolonization of most of the African country, while going through the 60s, our newly designated head of states were mainly concerned about giving access to potable water to to the population in those newly constructing cities, putting together water treatment plan and network and setting the potable water utilities. These were in the 1960s. Thinking about where those used waters will go was not the main preoccupation as far as they had a river or the sea where to dump the wastewater, even without much or even not at all treatment processes. No awareness was raised related to the pollution of the environment. The beginning of collective sanitation came in under the impetus of the hygienist movement led by doctors and chemists that had established correlation between stagnant water and certain infection diseases. The first step of sanitation consisted, therefore, of the installation of ventilated underground piping system to allow rapid drainage of water out of the urban areas without stagnation. And these were the first unitary system that would constitute the bulk of sanitation during the 50s and 60s. At the beginning of urbanization, during that period, slowly migrating into urbanization, unfortunately, the African population, which culture was still linked to open defecation, as it was before in the past time, continued their habit in the bushes, forests, open bodies of water, and other open spaces. Today in Africa, the situation of open defecation remains one of the most talked of banners, as the United Nations estimate that 60% of the population do not have access to decent toilet facilities. In sub-Saharan Africa, it is estimated that around 215 million people continue to engage in open defecation. This practice contaminates the environment and facilitates the transmission of spread diseases such as diarrhea, cholera, typhoid, dysentery, one of the leading causes of mortality in children under 5 in sub-Saharan Africa. The number has increased as the rate of progress of ending OD, open defecation, is insufficient to account for the very high population growth sub-Sahara is encountering. Be it an international crisis or even a cultural inclination, open defecation has attracted the intervention of several African governments in partnership with international bodies. The United Nations are making known their resolve to put a lasting end to the scourge of open defecation, mainly through public awareness, enactment of legislation against the act, construction of public toilets or construction of public toilet or private toilets in households through subsidies, among other interventions. The World Bank estimates that inadequate sanitation costs African countries billions of dollars each year in loss of GDP. This raised awareness at the national level to understand that action had to be taken toward improved sanitation infrastructure and service. So what are the sanitation options? Why today option is mainly on-site sanitation and not sewage? The Millennium Development Goals for sanitation in Africa was a tremendous failure, and we all know that. And looking at the Sustainable Development Goals, we are still not on track, and serious action are needed in sub-Saharan Africa. With the expansion of city and the urbanization growth, when we talk about sanitation, we are looking at multiple aspects of sanitation. We are looking at sewage, on-site sanitation, and also drainage, which is part of sanitation. The tar and the concrete that we put on our roads in our cities to facilitate the driving of cars and trucks prevents rainwater from infiltrating the ground. And helping this by the effect of climate change, the rainstorms are getting stronger and causing a lot of material damage and often human damage, with the risk of flooding due to the saturation of the collectors and the increasing polluting flows, and for which we must consider draining in city planning and in sanitation policy as key. These quantitative and qualitative aspects of wastewater and rainwater management have shaped the current sanitation systems with development of new works such as rainwater overflow, treatment plants, separation networks, storage basin, and filtration basins, etc. The three types of sewers such as sanitation sewers, storm sewers, and combined sewers system play an important role in ensuring that the waste we produce is transported and treated properly. Faced with investments linked to the development of urbanization and equipment, the control of aging urban infrastructure remained neglected until recently. For most of the 20th century, the maintenance and monitoring of sewage systems were considered secondary to the development of other infrastructure networks. This being linked to the fact that their service is not directly perceived by the users, despite their important role in public health and environment protection. Environmental issues have existed since independence, but they were considered and improved in most of the countries of the region only when serious epidemic and multiple diseases took place in the region, and in some place around the world across the 70s and the 80s. In some countries, we started seeing the emergence of ministries dedicated to environment, which demonstrates the concern for public service for preservation of the environment. But it is very lately that ministries dedicated to sanitation have been brought up, and unfortunately, thanks to climate change disasters, pollution growth, and rapid urbanization in the region. Now we can encounter in some countries sanitation urban planning, environmental acts, and sanitation acts. But another big constraint appeared. Even with all the will, a country who wishes to achieve 100% sanitation service for its population nowadays cannot assume it by using conventional sewer sanitation because of extension of the cities, existing of growing slums area, and also the urgent need of housing for the population. All the countries in the region are facing these challenges. The solution, which is taking increasingly space, is on-site sanitation. On-site sanitation systems such as pit latrine and septic tanks are widely used in rural and semi-urban areas in Africa, but also now in cities. And with the need of a fecal sludge treatment plant somewhere nearby. Today, with the emerging neighborhoods in cities, it would be too expensive to bury pipes under already existing buildings and houses, and also construct wastewater treatment plants, which would be also too expensive. However, the maintenance and management of these pit latrines and septic tanks and the process linked to the operation of the system need special attention. Management of fecal sludge and wastewater in urban areas requires a combination of complementary technology and service. In sub-Saharan Africa, over 80% of the population uses on-site sanitation facilities, where toilets are not connected to a sewer, but discharge to on-site containment, requiring service to empty the fecal sludge that is generated and contained. Data gathered through assessing fecal waste flows in 28 cities in sub-Saharan Africa show that most of the fecal sludge produced is not emptied, for around 49%, or emptied but not delivered to treatment plants, this is for around 19%, and making these steps the most common failure mode of sanitation in the city, and this is well above the rate of open defecation, which is 4% in the city, or inadequate treatment, which is 10% in the city. Consequently, safe and hygienic emptying and transport service for on-site sanitation facility enable safely managed sanitation in cities and thus protect public and environmental health. Public and private operators of diverse scale provide emptying and transport services for fecal sludge, who uses various tools and equipment, including vacuum tankers, trucks, pump, and buckets. To prevent environmental pollution and public health risks, they must collect sludge hygienically, transport it safely, and deliver it to a dedicated disposal or treatment site. The workers are at risk of injuries, diseases, and also social stigma. So now let's look at the innovation and technology that can help doing these sanitation activities. So new technology and sanitation are emerging around the world, especially with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. As you all know, the Gates Foundation is doing a lot, especially in Africa, on sanitation. But they have launched in 2011 the Reinvent the Toilet Challenge to spur the creation of new toilet technologies that safely and effectively manage human waste. The Reinvent the Toilet Challenge continues today and supports the development and commercialization of products that, one, remove harmful pathogens from human waste and recover valuable resources such as energy, clean water, and nutrient, operate off the grid, cost less than 5 cents per user per day, promote sustainable and profitable sanitation service and business in poor area, and also can appeal to everyone in developed as well as developing nations. The initiative has resulted in more than 25 breakthrough processing components and technologies that are available for commercialization by product and sanitation service companies. These technologies are at the forefront of a growing movement to rapidly improve sanitation. Also, we have in Africa the African Union High-Level Panel on Innovation and Emerging Technology, APET, that believes that African countries can leverage smart technology to address their WASH challenges. For instance, to address sanitation challenges, African countries can consider biodigestion technology, which is suitable for water-scarce environment. As an illustration, the Water and Sanitation Association of Zambia, WASAZA, has increased effort towards supporting schools develop and build sanitation biolatrine that utilizes biodigestion technology to process organic and fecal waste. We are looking also at compact wastewater technology to fit a real estate, for instance, a real estate development, or a single building with on-site sanitation, and water reuse is also a game changer. Smartphone platform can also enable sanitation notification messages and dissemination of information for local communities. For example, the Acros company in Zambia has partnered with the Zambian Ministry of Local Government and Housing with UNICEF to adopt a mobile-to-web application that can facilitate innovative service delivery and monitoring system referred to as the CLTS M2W. Consequently, this CLTS has enabled an unprecedented sanitation uptake in Zambia. And this platform has facilitated the creation of over 1,500,000 new users of sanitation in about 18 months. The African Union High-Level Panel on Innovation and Emerging Technology is also encouraging countries to consider better water harvesting technology that can increase water supply and security. Now, at the national policy and innovation, national policies on innovation and technologies level through regulation, what can we say? We can say that comprehensive policies and regulation on sanitation appeared when on-site sanitation emerged as a must to increase access to safe sanitation. Like stated earlier, ministry dedicated to sanitation as well as sanitation assets holding company were set in national government to address the issues of sanitation service. Emptying and transport of fecal sludge have only recently come to the attention of many regulators. And this is important because while the service are being regulated in many cities in sub-Saharan Africa, the extent of regulation varies. Regulation for on-site sanitation is new and needs a lot of thinking and strategic development. The well-known ESAWAS, Regulator Association of Eastern and Southern Africa, is today in the process of extending its membership activities to reach also Western and Central Africa with the support of the African Water and Sanitation Association. For the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, we need to think at a wider level what could be fine, what could be the best way to regulate sanitation for the African population. This situation gives the opportunity to policymakers in aiming for a better sanitation service to also look at technology and innovation that can best serve the African population. Now to conclude, what we think is that practitioners, regulators, and policymakers need to work together to define the best way sanitation service can be efficient. Sanitation is a newcomer in the game and is today key for the economic and social development in countries. The African Water and Sanitation Association is, since few years now, implementing a citywide inclusive sanitation program impacting more than 30 African cities, and 300 individuals are involved, as well as capacity building for more than 200 women in leadership development in the WASH sector, transforming Africa in one of the hot spots for efficient WASH development. More and more financial and technical international organizations are, with AFWASA, implementing programs and projects. AFWASA is also transforming its capacity building and knowledge sharing approach to be more efficient and attract more scientists, researchers, engineers, and technicians, and also management, financial, communication, legal, and human resources specialists. We need all these specialists to work together in intelligence to enhance the water and sanitation sector in Africa and significantly increase access to clean water and better sanitation services to our brothers and sisters within the African population. And on that, I thank you for your attention.
One more round of applause for Sulvan. Thank you. Our Cabinet Secretary, we must admit that this conference is unprecedented. In all our lives in water, this is the first international conference where the word sanitation and water are in the same sentence. Let's appreciate for that. And I believe that presentation provides a very strong perspective on why sanitation should not be left behind. Now, allow me to invite the following in plenary one, because policy at government level is something that is handled both by the CS and PS. I would like to invite our Principal Secretary, State Department of Water and Sanitation, Dr. Paul Rono, to the stage to take his seat. He will be followed by Mr. Ephantas Kimotho, Principal Secretary, State Department for Irrigation. In the same breath, we have Engineer Festus Ngeno, the Principal Secretary, State Department on Environment and Climate Change. His entire life has been in water. He's the former CEC, Nakuru County, and he's also the former Managing Director of Kericho Water and Sanitation Limited. Also, we have Honorable Jonathan Mweke, Principal Secretary, State Department of Livestock Development. I don't know if he's represented here. Do we have a representative? We also have Mary Muthoni Muriuki, Principal Secretary, State Department of Public Health and Professional Standards. Is the PS here or represented? We've been in communication. We have our chairman, Dr. Engineer Moses Kinya, who is the chairman of WASPA. WASPA has also transformed as AFWASA has done. We used to be Water Services Providers Association, but we have now transformed into Water and Sanitation Providers Association to give traction to matters of sanitation as alluded by Usha, so that we don't focus on seaward sanitation, but we also embrace the components of non-seaward sanitation under SDG 6 reporting. So do we have our chairman? Engineer Moses Kinya should be able to join us here. I understand that the DG Public-Private Partnerships Director, Christopher Kirigwa, his plane has been changed all of a sudden to afternoon. I don't know if he's represented. We have Kalanithi Vairavamuthi, who is the ED Executive Director of International Water Association, and is joining us online from UK. Kindly confirm the media team that we have Vairamuthi online. Kala, are you able to get me online?
Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you. Kala is the Executive Director of IWA. Good to have you, Kala. We are in the coastal city. Let's appreciate Kala, please. We are in one of our most beautiful cities in this republic. We call it 001, Mombasa County. How we wish you would be here. But thank you for accepting to join us live. So we also have, I don't know if Honorable Kangogo Bowen is represented. CS, we had taken care of blue economy, but not to your level there. At the committee level, Okay. Okay, I'm told, yeah, thank you. We received that. Senator Beatrice Akinyi. PSICT. Do we have, is Engineer Tonu? Do we have PS, yeah? PS Roads, I'm told PS Roads is here. Thank you, kindly join us. We know public-private partnerships has successfully been applied in the road sector, and I think it is important to see how that can be superimposed to work in the water sector so that we pay fidelity to the Kenya Kwanza manifesto of public-private partnership, because that is the government that is already in power. So without much ado, I'll be moderating this session, and I'll shoot the first question, but I also want you to, if you identify questions that you would want to direct to the team here, the panelists here, you also prepare. So PS, thank you for organizing this important function as one of the major partners with the CS from the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. We have only 7 years left to ensure that we achieve our development blueprint vision 2030 and SDG number 6. As alluded before, our coverage is low. Water coverage is at 70%, and sanitation, safely managed sanitation. There is basic sanitation, but safely managed sanitation, joint monitoring program, 2002 alludes is at 32%, which is still very low. And we are aware from the statistics that we have 3 million household connections. Are there plans that the government has put in place and using the current innovations and technologies to ensure we are able to improve on water coverage and sanitation coverage? As you try to answer that question, our country has also been identified as a water-stressed country. The per capita threshold at UN is 1,000 cubic meter per capita. Our fresh resources are at 452 meter cubed per capita. What is the government doing to address the issue of water scarcity in the face of climate change, where we are talking of adaptation, building resilience, and mitigation? Bwana PS.
Okay, thank you, CEO, and also thank you all participants. I will just first of all start with your first question on the sanitation coverage. It is a fact that in terms of access to water, from the time of independence, the government has invested a lot on water. There are quite huge infrastructure meant to deliver and supply water to Kenyans. But at this time, we are talking about over 70% access to water. When you look at sanitation facility, which we are at 32%, and looking at the government plan in terms of improving this particular facility, which over time has not been given attention, and the 2030 plan and the 2050 plan for the government, which we are looking at a lot of urban migration to a percentage of around 50% of our population will be in the urban areas. That calls for a serious focus of sanitation. It is very unfortunate that for a very long time we have not given focus to this particular program, utility, which is so critical to the development of any nation, especially when it comes to improving our urban centers to attract the people from the rural areas. But the government plan going forward is that we want to expand our sanitation facility from the current at 2% to 50%. We are also identifying all the potential urban centers. And in this case, we are looking at the sub-counties which we believe in the next 20 years, they will be attracting bigger population, as they will be called the urban centers. And we want to improve on all these sub-counties so that as we experience the rural urban migration, we'll be in a position to provide adequate sanitation for these people. I know there are challenges to do it financing, but as a ministry, what we have done is to put up a program to expand within the next 5 years our sanitation from the current 32% to 50%. Currently, we have 28 programs running across the country to improve sanitation facilities. And we are not only looking at sanitation at urban centers, we are also looking at sanitation in schools, because we also believe that there are poor sanitations in our primary schools and secondary schools, which there is need for improvement. To a large extent, we are told our culture has been facing problems in schools when it comes to sanitation issues and the use of sanitary towels. So the ministry has put up a program to ensure that we expand on this portfolio so that within the next 5 years, our sanitation should move to 50%. In terms of the household, it is true that we have close to 3.9 million households connected to clean and safe water, out of a population of 12.5 million households. In our program, we have put up a plan to expand another 6 million households within the next 5 years, so that we have 9 million households. And our program is to focus now on last mile connectivity. And that is why we are bringing in the county government who are meant to do the last mile connectivity of water to the households and improving their capacities and ensuring that we also work together in terms of funding so that we can expand on that plan. On the issue of improvement on water coverage, as I said, that we are now on 70%, and the government plan is to construct mega dams. You have heard that we have a plan to construct 100 mega dams, which we believe will provide sustainable supply of water for both irrigation, domestic, and also for commercial. And we believe that these 100 mega dams, which are spread across the country, with another 1,000 medium dams and small programs to do with water pans and boreholes, and also spring protection, will be able to provide more coverage to water across the country. Because I think over time, this integrated approach in terms of looking at a peak, mega, and medium, and short-term plan maybe has not been given attention. But going forward, as you have heard from the leadership of this country, that there's a more focus and attention on water coverage for the country. And we believe that these big water storage facilities which are being constructed will address that issue. The other issue is about water stress. This is quite scary because when we talk about per capita for water in this country, we are talking about 452 meter cube per person per year, which the international standard talk about 1,000. I think we are not even on 452. 452 was on 2018, but now we are on 406. And speculation has shown that in the next 1 year, we'll be on 206 meter cube per water per person per year, which is totally below the international standard. What this means, ladies and gentlemen, is that our water levels or water availability of water is going down. When you look at, if you want to really take this point home, is that when you look at the rivers next to your homes, the permanent rivers have become seasonal rivers, and the seasonal rivers have dried up. That tells you that very soon, this item called per capita for water is going down and down, and it is scaring because it's telling you very soon there will be no water. So to address this issue, we have looked at several programs because we need a number of stakeholders to support us on this. One of it is the issue of water catchment areas, which is also facing a lot of challenges because of population growth, poor farming, and also destruction of our forestries by private individuals. And what we have done in some areas is to try and fence our forestry, and I think the PS environment is here, like the area of Sakana, so that because during the dry season, we have livestock farmers taking their livestock into the forest for grazing. What they do is they destroy the vegetation, which is meant to protect water when it rains. So most of these forests, when you see now, they are just standing trees. And when it rains, it doesn't hold water. A very scary one is when you look at the water we are getting in Nairobi, we used to get 560 cubic meters per day during rainy season. As we talk now, we are on 460. We have not reached 560, and the reason being, we are unable to get enough water from our water towers. Our 3 dams serving Nairobi are generally very low because there is no enough water going to those dams. And this talks about this element of per capita which is coming down, and I think we need to work together with the county government and also at the same time with all other stakeholders to protect all these water catchment areas, and then also come up with other methods of providing water for domestic and irrigation. And this includes also using the seawater and the fresh water from our lakes and rivers, so that we can also see if we can pump or supply this water for domestic as we also continue building the dams. I believe this one will address the issue of per capita and also a lot of awareness to make sure that we protect on our water catchment areas. Thank you.
Thank you, PS Water. I want to bring in PS Environment. It's like in the country, we are operating on both sides of the pendulum. Remember a few months ago, it was drought. Then we have moved now to floods. And what came out from COP27, and I remember you participating, is that the crisis of climate change is a crisis of water. So it means that climate change and water are inextricably linked. You can't separate them. They're like Siamese twins. What initiatives in the face of this crisis of climate change, in terms of initiatives and strategies that the State Department of Environment and Climate Change has put in place to address this crisis of climate change, where we have unpredictable precipitation, rising sea level, floods, and drought?
Thank you so much, Anthony. Honorable CS, all protocol observed. Engineer Fesas Ngeno is my name, a PS Environment and Climate Change from the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, and indeed, the nexus between climate change and water is one that is at the talk. And one of the key things that, as you put it right from out of COP27, that the climate change is existential threat to humanity is real. And as I was hearing my PS colleague of water enumerating the issues of water demand, water quality, it is all because of the global warming issues, greenhouse emission gases, that are affecting our environmental, the land degradation issues, the forestation, the degraded lands, and also the impact on our water towers is what is critically affecting the human per capita in terms of provision of water and also the sanitation challenges. And one of the key things that we are looking at it from the State Department of Environment and Climate Change is One is creation of awareness that the climate change crisis is also affecting the humanity, either from the infrastructure bit of it or even from the social and even development perspective. And one of the things that we are working on are the various policies and strategies within the ministry. One is that under our National Climate Change Action Plan, which is a governing document for the country, is how then do we be able to bring down the issues of greenhouse gases emissions to below the 32% threshold that we are putting in up to 2025. And now then that could be able to help in terms of mitigation and building up robust systems. Again, is to urge us as in the water sector to build up robust and resilient adaptive programs that could be able to mitigate against climate change issues, and provision of water is so critical, and especially when you look at the sanitation aspect. Afforestation program is critical. The 15 billion tree growing campaign that the President has launched, the ecosystem restoration program, which of course affects the water towers where the water provision is sought from, is so critical. And that is one of the key things that has been mainstream. And I know, Honorable Cabinet Secretary, it is no longer an issue of the Ministry of Environment alone. It's a government project. And one of the issues that, and I'm happy my PS colleague who is now in PS Irrigation was in charge of the program, is that every MDA now has responsibility of the tree growing or the ecosystem restoration program in order to protect humanity. The droughts, as you put it right, we just came out from the droughts the other day. We went through the flooding scenario. It's a pendulum, and it's a crisis that has been existing within the water sector and even within the agricultural sector. And one of the things that we've said is that we need to be able to stand up and provide solutions. And one of the key things that we have done, as I mentioned, is the ecosystem restoration program. We are working on other programs in order to build resilience within communities. The World Bank program, financing locally led initiatives, especially from the communities, supported by the World Bank. And I know the water sector program also is part of it. It is supposed to build resilience from the communities. How then will communities be able to adopt, mitigate, and build their livelihoods within in order to mitigate against the risk of climate change? I know the health crisis is there. COVID pandemic was one of the key issues that was able to be a threat. But going along the lines in our National Climate Change Action Plan, as indicated, our long-term strategy 2050, which looks at the emission of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, it is some build, and looking at that, adaptation programs under the water sector has been inputted into the program. And I'm happy to mention that the mega dams that are being done, the issues of ecosystem restoration is part and parcel of how we can be able to mitigate against the effects of climate change to humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, PS Environment. Now, let me bring in Carla from UK. Thank you for your patience, online Carla. We are where Iowa has undisputedly organized international conferences, and we want to bring you in terms of technologies and innovations that are being applied across the globe to accelerate access. We only know that 7 years is not a very long time, and governments have made commitment that within the Agenda 2030, they have to ensure that their populace within their jurisdictions are able to provide access to safely managed water and sanitation. What are some of these innovations and technologies that have been applied by members of the International Water Association? And you've just listened to Usha from the continental perspective, alluding to the AU Agenda 2063. To you over, Carla.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay, Anthony? Hello, can you hear me?
We want your perspective from the international level, how...
Yes, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So thank you very much for the question, and thank you very much for the kind invitation. And my apologies for not being able to join you in Mombasa. I actually have been traveling for the last few weeks, and I just returned home on Sunday. So I really wish I could be there with you. In response to your question, Anthony, I think what we're seeing within the IWA is we're seeing a major transition within the water sector, and this transition is really in response to global change pressures, both climate change but also rapid urbanization. And the transition we're seeing is this move to a more circular approach to water, where we are tending to think about trying to use water multiple times. And also we're trying to recover value from our waste streams. And it also appears that we are moving towards more distributed systems. So we're moving away from centralized systems to more decentralized systems. This transition that we're seeing really requires a level of leadership and innovation that's unprecedented in the history of our sector. So, you know, the water sector is being challenged because we have to be much more creative and imaginative now, using more of our right brain thinking, which is really a very different place in the brain from where most of the decisions are currently made. Now, from a sector perspective, we are seeing that the most important component that has to be addressed is really wastewater and sanitation. And I think a lot of your speakers have alluded to this. As probably most of you know, 80% of wastewater is not treated. And this, of course, creates many problems: public health problems, environmental degradation. It damages our water sources, and it sort of infringes people's human rights. And you have very large cities like Dhaka in Bangladesh, where 15 million people, it's a city of 15 million people, which generates about 2 million cubic meters of wastewater, and only 2% of that's treated. So within IWA, we're seeing that most of the innovation and interest is really coming in the area of wastewater, and people are now viewing wastewater as a potential water source that can provide greater water security. And there's also this great anticipation that the ability to recover resources from our wastes, it will potentially be a panacea, the cure that can potentially generate money that makes our wastewater and sanitation systems viable. Many countries in the global south are really on the cusp of investing large amounts of money. And I know this is true in sub-Saharan Africa and also in South Asia. If you take India, for example, they are planning to invest about $36 million over the next 5 years to provide universal coverage, not only in water supply, but more importantly in the area of sanitation. And here I think it's very interesting because many countries in the global south have the opportunity to build upon the experiences of the global north. When you look at the Western world, the last 70 years was really like one big pilot study where they started with very large, clunky wastewater systems, which they improved incrementally. And so now you see the evolution of much more elegant solutions that are appearing in the global north. And I think the global south can really, benefit from that in the sense that they didn't have to go through this difficult journey. What we're seeing is we're really seeing innovations that change the physics of our processes, such as granular sludge, Anamox, thermal hydrolysis, and all of these technologies mean that for us in the global south, we can design more efficient systems that have much smaller plant footprints with much lower capex and opex costs. So it's really a great time for us in embarking on this wastewater journey. And it's really interesting that almost in all countries, you're seeing this implementation of wastewater being contextualized within the circular economy narrative. I mean, I chaired an event recently where the minister from Dakar in Senegal talked about how, the wastewater was going to be reused for industry and agriculture and also for biogas production, and that they were selling around 3 megaliters per day of treated sewage to private companies. In India, I met with, at the COP 26, I met with the city commissioner from Surat, who told me that the city is earning $18 million a year from selling 115 megaliters a day of secondary treated wastewater. So there's a lot of this type of work taking place. But I just wanted to reiterate what Sylvain was mentioning in his opening address, that we are also seeing great innovations taking place in the space of non-sewage sanitation. The Gates Foundation have been championing this, and traditionally these systems were very poorly designed, they were unpleasant, they were dirty, you had unlicensed pit emptiers who contributed to environmental pollution. But now we've sort of reframed this problem, and we see it really as a logistics problem. How do we move this waste from point A to point B? And we can move it either below the ground or we can move it above the ground. And you're seeing people starting to think about this issue like a logistics company, like say DHL might think about it. And so we're seeing optimization methods that are allowing us to move this in a very efficient and effective way. And so these solutions are becoming much cleaner, much more elegant, and much more cost effective. I have seen, and also resource recovery is being hardwired into these systems. I personally have seen in a very short time decision makers at the highest level who originally would not consider non-sewage sanitation. They now see it as a big opportunity because these systems are being professionally designed and they're technologically sound. And they're also embracing a lot of innovation around digital. So they're using digital sensors and they're using optimization algorithms with call centers to sort of almost, minimize the costs and improve the efficiency of these systems. And in that respect, the last thing I wanted to talk about that we're seeing a lot happening within IWA is the whole area of digital water, and how we're seeing that, digital is becoming an enabler. It's allowing us to do some very clever things with the way we manage water, the way we manage wastewater. We see a lot of innovations taking place in the space of sensors, the ability to capture more data. These sensors are becoming smaller, they're becoming cheaper, and they can measure more things. We're seeing things like in-pipe probes that we can insert into drinking water pipelines so that we can actually visually inspect pipes and identify where leaks are potentially developing. We also see a lot of innovation in the area of data processing, modeling and visualization. We're moving away from mechanistic models. These are the models that were based on sort of the physics of processes, to more data-driven approaches where we're using machine learning and deep learning, sort of artificial intelligence type approaches. And this is allowing us to combine both structured data. The structured data is sort of like your numerical data, your lengths, your heights, your pipe frictions and things like that. We're able to combine structured data with unstructured data. Unstructured data are things like video images, people's complaints, service records, textual-based documents. So we can process both text and images to create an understanding and almost our ability to simulate the human cognition process. And then on top of that, we have these smart devices. You're seeing, smart pumps and smart valves that sort of have onboard computers that are effectively brains, right? And they are able to sort of self-regulate and decide when they have to be repaired or when they have to be rehabilitated. So what we're seeing is we're seeing a move to silent running systems, systems where there's very little intervention from operators, and the sensors are measuring things that are feeding these modeling tools that are then developing decisions that they can communicate to smart devices. And so everything sort of is operating on its own. And you've seen some examples of this in Africa, in West Africa, in Niger, where, GSMA have been working with a company to develop something called a CT suite. And this is where, you have a smart prepaid water meter that combines with an integrated software management system. And so what you have is as people are taking water, these systems start to sort of automatically regulate themselves. And if there is any extra water that's leaving the system, they can sort of almost identify if there are suspected leaks within the network or if there's illegal usage. So, digital technology, and also with non-sewage sanitation, people are looking at sensors within a septic tank. that can sort of almost indicate when a tank has to be emptied, and that information can be fed to a call center. The call center can then identify collectors who can then, work on optimal routing algorithms to collect that. So digital is really being seen as a big enabler. So for me, these are the areas where I'm seeing a lot of innovation. The whole area of wastewater and sanitation, particularly around reusing water multiple times. The idea of being able to collect value from those waste streams, so nutrients and energy from those waste streams that can generate income. That is pushing us to think more in terms of smaller systems, because water is quite heavy, so you don't want to move it long distances and move it back. So this idea of much more decentralized or distributed systems are starting to evolve. And then in order to do all those clever things, we're seeing a lot of innovation in the digital space that's allowing us to manage our systems more efficiently moving forward. Back to you, Anthony.
Thank you, Carla, for giving us that international perspective. Maybe to our Cabinet Secretary, it is important to note that WASPA is the governing member of IWA in Kenya. Now, because time is not our best ally, I would request that we shorten. Within the water space, we have one of the challenges that is confronting us in terms of water losses, which according to Impact 14 was huge, 43%. Monetarily, you are looking at in excess of 10 billion Kenya shillings. I know we have had traditional methods, and this is to the PS irrigation, of irrigation, because I know there is also that food, energy, water nexus. But in terms of these traditional methods that have been put in place, we've had serious wastages and inefficiencies. And I think now the State Department is considering innovations and technologies that can bring in efficiencies in terms of irrigation. What are some of these technologies and innovations that the State Department is putting in place to address the inefficiencies and also mitigate the effects of climate change, including scarcity? Just in brief, Bwana PS.
Thank you, Chairman. First, the State Department is trying to maximize on the current irrigable land, which is approximately 670,000 acres. One, they're trying to do that by implementing soil moisture monitoring system. There's a model program that is actually being done at Galana that will increase the efficiency of water wastage by over 50%. And that means that will also help us and double the production. The second thing that the State Department is doing is where we've had the traditional open canals, the State Department is trying to come up with a lineage. That will also help increase wastage, because when we have the open canals, the efficiency level is 40%. So we'll be able to increase the efficiency level to a tune of at least 80%. The other thing that we are also, the ministry is also trying to do and encourage the farmers in the irrigation schemes is also to change to piping. I know piping is a little bit more expensive, but compared to the level of efficiency it will bring and the increase of production that will come as a result of that, that's also one of the methods that the ministry is equally considering. Then when it comes to pumping, the ministry is, the State Department, the ministry is actually moving away from the old way of using pumps which are using diesel to more efficient. So we are moving to solar. There's a project that is already being done that in Ahero irrigation scheme. And this will also help in reducing our carbon footprint. And also in essence, we'll also be able to tap into the carbon credits. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, PS Irrigation. Now let me turn to the PS Roads. We are aware that you have implemented a successful public-private partnership in terms of the expressway, which was done in a record of 24 months, because the balance sheet of the government is crowded and it is important that we crowd in private sector finance to finance infrastructure in government. What can the Ministry of Water, which is now initiating PPPs to address the deficit of around 100 billion every year to achieve SDG 6, learn from your ministry?
Thank you very much, our moderator, this afternoon. One, I'm happy that you brought on board some of our experiences that we've encountered during the implementation of our expressway. The budgetary constraint in the government is a reality. And you find that
talk about a few
even though we would want to cover what you are calling 9 million households in a year, the issue of funding the water sources to supply these households may be a far-reaching dream. But it is good to take cognizance that we have individuals or companies that have resources that can be utilized in public-private partnership to ensure that we supply water and even sanitary facilities to our household in the record short time. Due to the limitation of resources, it is good to take advantage of those institutions that have the financial capability. One, you may find that the Ministry of Water may require to anchor in place some of the institutions, do feasibility studies of the areas that can qualify for public-private partnership, and especially the densely populated areas. So after the feasibility study, you may need to do the designs, because this is, in essence, mortgage financing, where you'll allow a company to invest their own money, do the supply of water at their cost, do the construction of the infrastructure, and maintain for a duration of time. So you'll be looking at some of the areas that are critical for the ministry and allow the public-private partnership, individuals and organizations to look at areas that they think are extremely attractive, where they can invest their own money, maybe supply water to your water service providers at a fee, and eventually, when the household users pay, they recover what they had invested in. Going by our model of the expressway, you realize that the congestion of Nairobi is what triggered the expressway. And after the construction of the expressway, now vehicle owners pay a fee to utilize the service, and the contractor or the investor is getting back or recouping back his cost of construction plus the interest of his money from the money that they recoup from the vehicle. So I imagine, because the same scarcity of resources I experienced in the ministry, you could also identify areas which private investors can invest into, and they offer the ministry with the feasibility data, how designs will cost. The ministry can analyze so that the people can also not be exploited. Because one of the key areas is how much will this whole project cost in terms of construction? What would have been the mortgage financing for that kind of money? And eventually, if you get a breakthrough in terms of economics of scale, such that you look at how much did these people invest in construction, how much would have been in their 30 years interest, and when you balance the two, the service provider can benefit from this kind of model, which will help you unlock much of the statement that you have in the shortest time possible. But again, you have to take cognizance that the same are in business, so you ensure that the service providers are not exploited in terms of how much it will cost the water users.
Thank you very much. As I bring in the PSICT, Engineer John Kipchumba Tonui, the theme of this conference is to leverage technology and innovations to accelerate access. We are aware that your ministry is providing the very important support functions across all the ministries. And I know in the sector we have been facing serious challenges. You find at times the cost of digitalization is very, very costly. An example, utilities would want to employ the issue of drones in terms of data collection, GIS, and even meter reading. You go to a customer and you find the gate is always locked. So the easiest way is to fly a drone over the gate. So what strategies are being put in place by the State Department of ICT to support maybe the Ministry of Water to be able to accelerate access? Just in short, Bwana PS.
Thank you very much. As mentioned, I'm in the ICT and Digital Economy State Department, and we are collaborating with my colleagues across the government to bring the benefits of digitization in the various sectors of our economy. We're looking at the entire government architecture to see that as we digitize, we are very clear on what exactly we want to build. We want to have a digital government as a platform that can bring efficiency in service delivery. Water is such a critical sector, and it's good to have such a forum today looking at how to accelerate provision of water access using technology. The first point is to ensure we have correct data, and I think earlier presenters have talked about data, and it's important we have clarity on data about water, from water sources, whether it's underground, surface water, so that we are able to plan with that data. So I think it's quite important, and it's a two-edged statement, because again, you need to collect that data, and you need tools to collect water at the various stages. So we will talk about water collection, water storage, and water transmission or distribution to reticulations within buildings or cities, and actual water usage in an efficient manner. All that area is an area full of opportunities for using new technologies to bring more efficiency. When you talk about water waste treatment, and now the more focus should be water reclamation and reuse, rather than just water wastage, so that this water can be reused. And across all this chain, what we see from ICT sector is to have a smart water system where you inbuild systems that you're able to collect the data across from the water sources, water storage, transmission, actual water uses, and even the reuse. So with that information, you are now able to utilize that water data for better decision. In what you've just mentioned in terms of what technologies, we would wish to see that we use smart meters, which can auto or real-time give information about the water. And that will be useful tools that can help us address issue of water losses, water leakage, water unbilled water. And also, you might not need to use even a drone if you have actually used smart water metering. And drones would still be useful in maintenance of water dams, monitoring long-distance transmission lines, and quick way of addressing any emergencies. And we are going to work closely with my colleague in the PS Water and also Irrigation to see that within all these systems, the technologies required to bring visibility is available, because the technologies are there, and we need to adapt and ensure that across the whole chain we address it. We've been discussing also with all our colleagues the development or the built space should not be handled in isolation. If you are building housing, you must integrate power, you must integrate water, ICT, and all this needs to be done at the start. So if we do right at the design stage, we will improve the progression of issues of water. Where we have issues is we still do in isolation or in silos, but we need to have an integrated approach in our development, especially in our continent where urbanization is increasing. We are building housing, we are building roads, but we need to adopt an integrated approach. From ICT side, we will work ensuring that we have clear systems that can interconnect with the other systems of government for efficient development of the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Penultimately, I want to bring in the chair of Water and Sanitation Providers Association. Once the investment infrastructure has been put in place, the WSPs play a very fundamental role because they interface with the customers in terms of providing water and sanitation services. And still we have serious challenges in terms of handling fecal sludge, in terms of high non-revenue water. What measures or technologies and innovations have been put in place by water and sanitation providers to address this? Chairman.
Thank you, Anthony. And as water service providers in the country, there are various measures that we are undertaking that will help us improve in terms of fecal sludge management, mainly in the use of modern technology. We've been put to think that the fecal sludge is actually a nuisance, but it is being used as a resource. So we would like to use it as for energy, for resource recovery, where we are able to use biodigesters to produce energy and also produce organic fertilizers. This we have learned from countries like Denmark. They do it in a great way, where companies or water service providers in Denmark, they are energy positive from the resource recovery that they do from fecal sludge and even from other wastes that are actually generated by food industries. So we want to leverage this technology. Already there are designs that are being made to this effect in some of our companies that we do resource recovery. And this will greatly improve our service delivery, help us improve the environment so that there is no much pollution to our rivers, and give us even reduce the cost of service. In addition, we are utilizing technologies like smart metering that has been mentioned, which is already being practiced, so that we are able to get real-time readings of consumer meters and real-time billing of our consumers. And this kind of technology will also help us to detect where there is water theft and even where there are leakages. We also are moving towards utilizing modern leak detection methods, even including satellite imaging, where leakages are being detected by satellite imaging. It can be known where there is a pool of water, even that is not being seen. So these are some of the technologies that we would like to utilize so that then we can advance the industry. Other areas is moving towards green energy to reduce costs of water production, solarization of our pumping systems, also using energy efficient pumps. These greatly reduce power consumption. These are some of the areas that as WSPs, we are looking to see how we can reduce cost of the service and utilize the resources towards increasing coverage of water and sanitation services. So those are some of the technologies that as WSPs we are utilizing, and we believe, and from where we started, since the enactment of the Water Act 2002, we have moved greatly to greater heights because of using technology. Previously, we are also cooperating with the financial institutions, the banks, so that we have moved almost all of us to cashless modes of payments. Unlike in the past where people used to cloud in banking halls, now we are using or leveraging the technology in the banks to use internet banking such that people can pay real time and at the comfort of their seats at home and at any time when they want to pay for their bill. They don't need to come to queue. They can pay wherever they are. This has also helped us to cushion against privileges of revenues that come from water. And that has greatly improved the way the WSPs are generating their revenues. So these are some of the technologies that we are adopting, and we believe out of this conference, and that's why we come here to share this experience with each and every one of us, so that we can see what technology is there, and then we adopt it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Why don't we appreciate all the panelists? Now, in the interest of time, we would have escalated it so that you are able to ask questions, but our chief guest, who is the Deputy President, our CS, we want to inform you that the program of this conference is carefully crafted, and from tomorrow we are going to have breakaway sessions on 4 thematic areas where we are going to have very exhaustive deliberations on some of the aspects that have been mentioned today. So without much ado, as we wind up this session, I want to bring in our Principal Secretary in closing to make his remarks. Yes. He'll bring you in. He's supposed to bring you in.
It's taking time. Okay, thank you, and thank you, my colleagues. It has been a great debate, but let me have a summary on this debate in case we miss some points. When you see this conference, it's talking about enhancing technology and innovation to accelerate access to safe, managed water and sanitation for all. This particular conference is to focus on water management using technology, which over time has not been given attention. I think as a country we have been developing water infrastructure, but water management has been missing. And this conference is to put up a white paper on how best we can use technology to manage water sanitation so that we can have effective and efficient delivery and management of water and sanitation. The second point, which is very important, is wastage, which comes because of our poor planning. When you see the water infrastructure development, it cuts across a number of stakeholders, ministries, and governments. And many a times it's because we are disjointed in a way in terms of deployment of these great infrastructures for this country: water, ICT, electricity, and roads. And environment come in. Many a times the programs delays because of our disjointed approach in terms of design and deployment. That is why this team is here to say we want to work as one from the design, deployment, and management of all our infrastructure so that we have what is called smart infrastructure. The other one is the growing concern of the non-revenue water. We talk about we are losing a lot of water, despite the fact that we have invested a lot in this particular facility. There is need for greater attention so that this resource is not only developed, but also we manage it so that we don't lose water because of the approaches we have used in the design and management. But we also make sure that we conserve and ensure that this water is put into good use, because loss of water is loss of revenue. The other one is a concern that we need to also come to full sanitation, which means recycling of water. We cannot use close to 560 meter cube of water per day for Nairobi and then dispose it. I believe if we can use little money, we can still treat that water, the 560,000 cubic meters of water, which we normally, every other time in cities like Nairobi, they go to waste. We can treat it and use it for irrigation. And we believe there are a number of technology initiatives and plans which can really assist this country to achieve on this great idea. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a great conference, big conference to discuss on which way can we manage water and sanitation using technology and innovation. I would like to give this chance to my colleagues who is in charge of environment to say a word, because I understand you will be leaving as we close this debate of the first panelist, Engineer Ngeno.
Thank you so much, PS Water. Honorable CS is just three points from the CS Environment and Climate Change. Your colleague, Honorable Soipantuya, he is asking me to make sure that I make these comments. One, that we are witnessing declining water levels in our freshwater sources, jeopardizing the availability of water for crucial sectors and putting our food security at risk. And it is crucial that we also tackle contamination risks and the growing threat from the rising waters of the Rift Valley lakes. That given these critical challenges, we must shift the action to strengthen climate proofing in the water and sanitation sectors. Collectively, we must adopt climate resilient strategies, integrate climate change adaptation consideration in our interventions, and build robust systems that can withstand these challenges. And in line with this, Honorable CS, is that as guided by our National Climate Change Action Plan, NCAP 2, which we are reviewing, and the implementation of NCAP 3, which we are working on now, 2023-2027, the government is fully committed to integrating measures and standards into water and sanitation infrastructure development. And these unwavering commitments ensures durability, functionality, and long-term sustainability, even in the face of extreme weather challenges. And to attain this climate neutrality in the water and sanitation sectors, we must recognize the power of collaboration and partnership. Governments, communities, NGOs, international organizations, development partners, and development finance institutions. We must join forces to, one, to pool resources, two, to leverage the power of collective action, boost knowledge and experiences sharing, and ultimately build innovative climate resilient solutions that can stand the test of time. Similarly, we have placed significant emphasis on the prioritization of capacity building, technology transfer, and recognizing the vital role in enhancing climate resilience within the water and sanitation sector. And as she concludes, it would be important to note that coming September 4 to 6, for those who have known, that ECSL, the president, will be hosting the inaugural Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi, which is a gathering that will shape the continent's future, especially as we look at the climate resilience, climate adaptation, and climate mitigation sectors. And therefore, I take this opportunity to invite the water and sanitation sector to that inaugural Africa Climate Summit between the 4th to 6th of September. We have Africa Climate Week running between 4th to 8th of September. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bwana PS. Let's appreciate all the panelists. I know time is not our best ally, so I'll just request that we all be upstanding. The panel, we take a photo. Maybe Usha, you can join us, please, for this photo session, just here, as we conclude. One more round of applause, please. Thank you very much, and the session is over. Let's have Kayamba Africa, please. One jig.
Kayamba Africa. As an interlude, as we prepare for the next program, yes, thank you so much. 1 minute, 1 minute, please.
Thank you very much. Change of program a little bit that we need to bring to your attention. So we are through with plenary panel 1, which has been very successful. Plenary 2 is partially suspended to be picked up later in the course of the day. But now I would invite you to, if you have the program, show me the copy of the program if you have it. Show me. Show me. Let Kenya Water and Sanitation in front. Ishike vizuri. Ionekane vizuri. So for those who are following us online, this is hashtag Water and Sanitation Conference 2023. This is the Kenya Water and Sanitation International Conference and Exhibition that is taking place here at the coastal city of Mombasa, and with more specificity at Sarova White Sands. You can follow us online on YouTube, WASPA Kenya. We have our Twitter handle, WASPA Kenya, and on Facebook at WASPA Kenya. So we want to transit. Okay. We want to transit now into a very important national function, and this function is in your conference catalog and booklet. I would like to invite you to page 47, where we are going to have the launch of Impact Report, issue number 15. This is the most authoritative water and sanitation sector report that we rely on. It is also relied on at international level. I don't have much ado but to invite the CEO of WASREB to come over and lead us into that session. Let us appreciate him as he comes. And we also specially recognized WASREB as the silver sponsor of the Kenya Water and Sanitation International Conference and Exhibition 2023. One more round of applause, please. Maybe before you do, let me ask a question. Now, before the CEO comes, I would quickly ask so that we see if we have this panel in the afternoon. Do we have, the remarks for Hon Soipan Tuya have been made. Do we have the representative of Cabinet Secretary ICT? Okay, he'll be here. Cabinet Secretary National Treasury and Economic Planning. Do we have a representative? None. Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Health. There is a representative, good. Those are two. Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. His Excellency Anne Waiguru, Chairperson, Council of Governors, a representative. I was told we are going to be joined by the Chair of the Water Committee at COG, Governor Mwadime. Thank you. We also recognize the governors that are present. I've seen Governor Laikipia around. Any other governor that is present? Thank you. Hon Amina Laura. So we kill it. Okay. So thank you. Thank you very much. Let me hand over to Dr. Itunga, the CEO of SREB.
Thank you, MC. Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, CS, Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Honorable Aris Wahome, Governors present, PSs, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of Israel, and all the protocols observed. Because of time, I have a very, very long list of all of you, but because of time, we are not be able to recognize all of you. I want to say that all protocols have observed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's our great pleasure as Water Services Regulatory Board to launch our impact report for the year 2021-2022, otherwise known as Impact 15. And this basically looks at the sector generally and how the sector performed during the year under review. And we've done this with the support of all the water service providers who are regulated. They supported us with data that was required to come up with this report. And basically, we finalized the report about a month ago, and we thought it is important we launch it in this very great conference that we are discussing matters water. So that even as we talk about water, where are we in terms of tracking SDG 6, and how are we performing as a country? And with those remarks, I would want to take about a few seconds to request my chairman of the board, Professor Gichaga, just to make a few remarks. He doesn't have to read his speech. I know he under written speech, but because of time, and I can see we are standing between you, lunch, and His Excellency, the Deputy President, we quickly run through this program, possibly in the next 40 minutes or so. So, Chair, please make your remarks, and then we move forward.
Thank you very much, the CEO of WASREB, Deputy President of Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, who we are expecting to join us shortly, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Water, Sanitation, Irrigation, Honorable Aris Wahome, Principal Secretary, State Department, water and sanitation, other PSs present, ambassadors and high commissioners present, governors, representatives of development partners, boards of directors, chief executive officers, managing directors of water service providers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My remarks are short, and I want to welcome you on behalf of WASIRE Board of Directors and Management, and welcome you all to this auspicious occasion of the launch of Impact 15-2023 report for the first time away from Nairobi. The board takes cognizance of governance assessment of water service providers in this edition. Good governance in the water sector must inculcate sound political, socio-economic, and administrative systems that promote prudent use of water resources. WASIRE has continued to roll out the Water Governance Training Handbook for guidance and reference in training sector players on good governance. The expectation is a more coordinated, performance-based training that will strengthen good governance. Ladies and gentlemen, as you heard, I was told to be brief, and I want to conclude my remarks, ladies and gentlemen, by saying that there is a positive correlation which we have observed between the strength of good governance and the technical performance of a water utility. In other words, water service providers who do well in governance are among the top 10. Ladies and gentlemen, I will take this opportunity again to welcome the Principal Secretary, State Department of Water and Irrigation, Dr. Rono. Dr. Rono, so that he can make his remarks and then invite our Cabinet Secretary. Thank you, Dr. Rono.
You have so many. You have so many. Yeah, thank you.
Don't invite Wasiri after you ask how who make the presentation, then you come and invite Wasiri later.
Okay. Yeah. All right, thank you, Aken. Let me see all protocols observed. I'm indeed glad to be part of this auspicious occasion, the official launch of the Impact 15 report 2023, and recognition of outstanding performance during the period under review. As we look at Kenya's scenario as presented in this report, let us first take a glance at the situation of water and sanitation coverage in the counties. The Impact 15 report shows the population in the entire service area of the regulated utilities is 26.7 million, which is 54% as compared to the total population of over 50 million people. This indicates that there was growth in the population within the service area of the formalized utilities. There is still a significant part of the population not served by the formalized utilities, whose population is also increasing. Considering the investment, considerable investment is still required to enable the water service providers increase coverage to 100% and have capacity increase in the size of the service areas. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the service providers spread across the country who are in counties, and these service providers are the one providing the required utilities when it comes to the last mile connectivity of water and sanitation. And these reports reflect what the country looks like in terms of this service. While 54.1% of the population lies within the formalized water service providers areas, it should be noted that the served population, when compared to the national population of 49.4 million, is only 36%.
which is equivalent to 16.5 million. A concerted effort by all stakeholders is considerable to equalize the statistics and achieve Vision 2030 call of water service for all. The regulated utilities are also not evenly distributed across the 47 counties, because, ladies and gentlemen, every county, we are lucky, has a water service provider. Some counties have got one, some have got two, some have got up to 7, so they are not evenly distributed. And many a times it's also because of the population growth and also how the counties have grown. Water losses continues to be the biggest challenge. I think I mentioned during my presentation, because we still lose a lot of water, and a county like Kisii County, which has got the highest loss of 77% of non-revenue water, is a concern. This converted to monetary terms depicts a significant loss of revenue. The trend obviously means that such utilities may not be in a position to cover all the costs and may become unsustainable in the long run. A report like this one of today, ladies and gentlemen, gives us a reflection on how we are performing in Kenya in terms of water and sanitation, because the devolved function of water, which is the last mile, is where we are in this discussion. And we want to make sure that this last arm is an arm which is effectively and efficiently managed so that we can provide clean and adequate water, at the same time make sure that we minimize on losses. Ladies and gentlemen, in certain areas that maybe I may not mention, if the locals, where the locals many a times take a full charge of water distribution to an extent that the national infrastructure which was created in those counties have been totally hijacked or taken away by the locals and make the cost of water in those regions extremely expensive. And these are regions which, in most cases, they are the arid and semi-arid areas where we have a lot of challenges in water management. And when these cases are witnessed, there's a case where I found the governor was totally has no control of the water services which the national government has developed and handed over to the county government. And that is where you can see also, us as national government, we have come up with other mechanisms to support this county government and provide what is called the water police, so that in such cases where we have hostile takeoff of water services by private individuals, the national government and the county government need to team up to ensure that such activities are not allowed. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest. But I'm guided here. Let me just welcome the team from WASREP to make their presentation, because before I welcome the chief guest, our CS to make her remarks and launch the report. Thank you.
Thank you, PS. We now going to just demonstrate a very, very brief statement on how the performance has been. Richard, if you are near, please come forward quickly. And the technical team, please run the slides.
Thank you very much, CEO. I will very quickly run through the presentation and allow me to build on the protocol that is already established, so that we can be able to do that within the 10 minutes that is provided. We're presenting the report for 2021-2022. We're calling it Impact 15, the 15th edition of the report. We've done this religiously for the last 15 years. Next slide, please. I think I'll skip the outline so that I can go to the real content. What we're doing this afternoon is really stemming from our mandate given under Section 72M, and precisely to report on the performance of the sector. And the report we are releasing this afternoon really is out of that mandate that is given to us. Thank you very much. The report we have is for the regulated utilities. I know the PS has mentioned some numbers, but what we are giving is for 54% of the population, because currently regulation is to that extent in terms of the national population. So we have 26.7 million people in the service areas of the 92 water service providers, whose performance we will be presenting this afternoon. Out of that, 16.5 million is what is served with water services, and 4.3 million is served with sewerage services. We have 1.3 million water connections serving that population, and we have 370 sewer connections serving the population of 4.3 million. In terms of water availability, we have a reliability of an average of 17 hours per day, but of course the numbers vary across the different water service providers. But again, in terms of how much of that water is available per person per day, we have a figure of 28 liters per capita per day. We produce about 459 million cubic meters of water per year for the water service providers, and we're able to bill 254 million cubic meters of water per year. We have mentioned the level of losses, and we lose after providing for the allowed 20%, that is the international benchmark for water services, about 115 million cubic meters of water. I think to give a context to this, Mombasa, the water service provider serving this county of Mombasa, produces about 12 million cubic meters of water per year. So if you look at 115, that is slightly more than 10 times what that water service provider is able to produce. We reflect the sector performance in terms of those three sets of colors. Green to show us that the performance is acceptable, yellow to show us, or green is good performance, yellow is acceptable performance, and red is non-acceptable performance. We have a set of 11 KPIs that we use to track sector performance, and for the period under review, that is how we performed. We had an improvement in about 4 KPIs, which are water coverage, the drinking water quality, reliability of supply, and personnel expenditures as a percentage of O&M expenditures. We had a decline in a number of them, and also stagnation in a number of KPIs. So in a nutshell, that is how the sector performed for the current period, and we have compared that to the performance in the last period. But where are we? Because I think we've made mention that we're really moving close to the international timelines. We look at the SDGs. We have tried to look at the sector commitments in terms of those sector goals and where we stand 7 years to the SDGs. Water coverage, if you look at the regulated service areas, we are at 62%, and the target is really to get to 100% in the next 7 years. And non-revenue water is at 45%. I think I can't overemphasize this. The Principal Secretary has really mentioned this, against a sector goal of 20% in the next 7 years. Sewer sanitation is at 16%. The target is really to get to 40% in terms of sewer sanitation, because the sector does appreciate currently that there's a place for non-sewer sanitation. So for sewer sanitation, we are at 16% against our target of 40%, again in the next 7 years. Our total sanitation is at 93%. I think I'll skip that because this basically shows us, if you look at the 92 water service providers, we have clustered them in terms of sizes based on the number of connections that they serve. But this is really to show us for the different sizes of customers, for the different sizes of water service providers, what is the market share that they have. And I think it's very clear from there that the very big water service providers really serve a huge proportion of the population. The 9 KPIs that are presented, we have them in clusters, and we look at that in terms of quality of service, economic efficiency, and operational sustainability of the sector. And that is the figure I'm showing is basically depicts how the sector has performed in the last 3 years, if you look at those clusters of indicators. So it's really a mix in terms of performance, and we call on the players to really change that so that we have a positive trend as we go towards 2030. Again, looking at those KPIs, we try to show, using that 3-level scale, how we are doing. So the green is basically to show us that is good performance, and we can see for the 9 KPIs which is the best performed to the one that even none of the water service providers has reported a good performance, which is the level of cost recovery. So yellow again, so we have metering as the KPI that has, we can say for now, the best performance against the level of cost coverage, where they have the highest number of WSPs with a performance that would be considered as not adequate. Next slide, please. We are trying to show there, if you look at the average service hours, which is about 17 hours per day, and the bill volume that we reported is about 254 million cubic meters per year. But again, look at the amount of water that is available for our consumers. That has been declining over time. So whereas the bill volumes are going up in terms of volumes, again, the average amount of water available to our consumers has been going down. And the question we're asking ourselves is whether there is a preference in terms of the water service providers in terms of the category of consumers that they would actually be focusing on. Yeah, the expectation for us is that as the bill volumes would be increasing, consequently, also the per capita consumption should actually be increasing. But we see a case that is contrary in the slide that is presented. So I think we will need to ensure that as we push availability of services to our consumers, ensure that we're really matching that increase in reliability of supply to the amount of water available to our consumers, and that should be reflected in an increasing per capita consumption. Again, I think because we've mentioned that water losses is really the elephant in the room, we've tried to disaggregate that to the different sizes of consumers. Unfortunately, that level has remained constant at 45%. But again, because the sector turnover is increasing in monetary terms, that has again increased from what we had previously of about 10.3 billion to the current level that is 11.2 billion Kenya shillings. When you look at even allowing the 20% that is the international standard for the level of losses. So that is how much the sector is losing in terms of, in monetary terms, and again in terms of volumes, which I had mentioned earlier. I said we are presenting the performance of about 54% of the national population, but that 54% of the national population, again, spread against the 47 counties is not uniform. So that is a picture nationally for the 47 counties, starting from the lowest, which is about 2%, and I think that is West Pokot, to the highest at 86%. for county number 47, which is the county of Nairobi. As much as the proportion that is green may look smaller, I think why we have a coverage of about 62% is because we have more densely populated counties on the lower side of that figure. That's why they're able to push that coverage to about 62%. We appreciate again that we operate in very different operating environments, and we are trying to show there a comparison between two counties, the county of Nyeri and Machakos in terms of the unit cost of water produced, and finally, what is the price of the water that is finally delivered to consumers. So Nyeri produces at about 60 shillings against Machakos of over 200. Inefficiencies in Nyeri is about, for the county of Nyeri, that is, at about 30%. So that contribution of inefficiencies is about an additional 11 shillings compared to an increase in Machakos of about 19 shillings. But the average price, if you look at the county of Nyeri, is about 71, I guess. Please move the slide. 71 shillings, which is equal to the unit cost of water produced. But again, if you compare that to Machakos, there's a small difference, implying that in the second case, really you have to bring in subsidies if that cost of service has to be sustained. In the absence of that, then you would actually be seeing a decline in the quality of service. So that tells us that we are in very different operating environments, and when we come in to set in tariffs as WASREB, that appreciates the context that, the cost of providing service in the different counties varies from one place to the other. So you see, in the case of Nyeri, even at 71 shillings per cubic meter, they have an O&M cost coverage of about 114, which is higher than what we have in Machakos, despite that the fact that they are selling at 200 and something, the cost coverage is still below 100%. So that goes to show the disparities in operating environments for the different counties that we are in. What is the impact of water losses if you look at the sector? And to be able to show that very clearly, we have again picked two counties, and I've picked Nyeri and Nairobi, which produce at about 60 shillings per cubic meter. The whole county. And the PS mentioned that, in different counties we have different numbers of utilities. We have looked at the average across the counties. The level of water losses for Nyeri is about 31% against Nairobi, which is at 50%. And the impact of that is as much as they produce at 60, Nyeri is able to sell that at 71 shillings, or the price for the water bill is at 71, but against 108 for the case of Nairobi because of the impact of losses. And that is what we have in terms of the average tariff, 71 again for Nyeri, which is equal to the unit cost of water billed, against 99 for Nairobi, which is much lower than the unit cost of water bill. Again, a case of subsidies to be able to meet the cost of providing that service, and those levels of cost coverage for the two counties. I think if you look at sector financing, we have, this has been mentioned. This is what the sector requires going to 2030 in terms of financial resources. So we require about 1.79 trillion Kenya shillings to be able to drive us to the goals that we have set for ourselves under Vision 2030. And we're happy that the government has formulated that policy document, the National Water Sanitation Investment Plan, that clearly outlines the resource requirements for the sector going forward. But again, out of the 1.79 million shillings that is required, what is available in terms of budgetary allocations by government is about 795. That leaves us with a shortfall of about 995, slightly less than 1 trillion Kenya shillings in terms of resource requirements. So what we are saying is we need really to optimize what is available so that, you know, that shilling that is available is able to reach that extra person by way of having capital efficiency. We need to have comprehensive investment planning, which is critical to ensure that, you know, this is a shared function between the two levels of government. That comprehensive investment planning is critical to ensure that we don't have duplication in terms of the investments that we're doing. I think in closing, I will basically mention the areas of focus. Governance has been mentioned here, and I think the chair did mention that there is a clear correlation between the governance in a water service provider and the level of technical performance that you will see for those utilities. Of course, we have those details when you look at the report that we will be releasing. Exploring alternative financing, I think because of the resource requirement to bridge the gap to 2030, we need to explore alternative financing as a sector. We need to enhance inclusivity. The mantra going to 2030 is leaving no one behind. So as water service providers, as critical actors in this space, what we are calling for is, as we plan for services, we must be seen to be inclusive, and the services must be provided equitably in the areas that we are in. We have the issue around bulk supply, which is what we are currently looking at as a sector, that, you know, we have effective regulation of bulk supply, which is currently a mandate that is undertaken by the waterworks development authorities. So that is, going forward, the critical areas of focus as a sector that we would require to focus on. I think in conclusion, we're saying you know, the right to water and sanitation services can best be achieved if the sector is operating with uniform standards. And I think we are saying going forward, we can't afford to be looking at the 54% of the national population. We have now deliberately moved to ensure that even for the small community systems, we have deliberate actions to ensure that, you know, we have some level of formalization in terms of the services that they're giving. We all agree that good performance can only be ascertained if it's measured against sector benchmarks, and what we present in this report this afternoon really aims at ensuring that whatever performance we have as a sector, whatever performance we have as water service providers, that is given against the benchmarks that we have set for ourselves. We have mentioned the issue of having standards for small water systems, and WASREB is in the process of implementing interventions to realize this. We have made very good strides in terms of commercialization of water services since we had the Water Act 2002, and we're saying we need to build on those gains as a sector, and we call on the counties to really come forward and ensure that those gains are sustained going forward. National reporting is very critical, and WASREB commits going forward that we will be doing this just to give us an indication as a sector as to where we stand in terms of water and sanitation access nationally. And we normally say if there's one thing that we must produce as WASREB, it is the report that we are releasing this afternoon. Thank you very much. Our mantra is always that we trust in God, but everyone else that we regulate must bring in data, and I think the PSICT did quite speak to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. That's Richard Cheroyot, who is our Director, Monitoring and Enforcement. Honorable Madam CS of Protocols Observed, I want to re-emphasize just 2 points, that as a regulator, we've been closely monitoring what is going on in this sector, and we see key among the gaps is the non-revenue water, where we are losing about 45% of what we produce. That is something that really we can't afford to look the other way. And I want to appreciate the ministry led by you and the PS in supporting the sector to combat this menace of non-living water. From it, we lose approximately, in the current reports, it has risen from the 10.4 billion we were talking about to about 11 billion now, which is really something that we all need to focus on to bring it to an end, so that if we can get this 11 billion or 10 billion or even half of it and reinvest it in the sector, obviously that can go a long way in accelerating the achievement of Vision 2030 in as far as universal access to water is concerned. The other aspects, Honorable CS, distinguished guests, is the issue of corporate governance. We've had situations in quite a number of institutions where there were what I can call coups in quotes, you know, change of management and board leadership every other year, and therefore without stability, as much as we are not going to condone mediocrity, but for sure, we can't expect good performance if there is so much turnover in terms of management and boards of directors, in particular in the water companies. Finally, CS, we would want to focus on the rural space, because what we report is approximately, it's an area that has a population of about 26 million. So it means there is another almost 23 million which we don't report on. And not that they don't get water, but what we can't do is we can't guarantee whether that water or, you know, sanitation in those areas is safely managed. So as a regulator, we are focusing on the rural waters in rural areas, water service provision in the rural areas in the medium term for Madam CS. So among other things, we would have, you know, brought out more issues in areas of performance, but given the constraint of time that we have, the report will be released shortly, and we are encouraging each one of us to look at it, interrogate the report, and where possibly give feedback, both to the regulator, to the ministry, and even to the county governments who are represented here, and Your Excellency, Chair of the Water Committee at the Council of Governance. We really appreciate what you are doing to support the initiatives that the regulator is undertaking. His Excellency, the Governor for Laikipia, who was our very, very good chairman during the 2019-2022 period. We did quite a lot during that period, and that's the time the report is covering. We really appreciate, and we encourage you to encourage your colleagues, the other governors at the council level, so that we can all work together for the common good. So, Madam CS, thank you so much. At this juncture, I want to call upon the PS once again to invite the chair of the Council of Governors Water Committee, and possibly give a minute or two to the Governor Laikipia, so that we quickly now invite Waziri to come and launch the report. Karibu.
Okay, thank you, CEO and the team from WASREP for that report. Two items I saw. Non-revenue has risen from 10.6 billion to now 11.2 billion. That is quite worrying. That is an increase of 600 million loss. So that is a point to take home. The other one is we need a handshake with the county government. And we have, at least we have governors here, I think we need a handshake so that we can also work together to address these issues. With those few remarks, let me welcome the chair of COC in charge of water. Mandime, welcome.
Thank you, P.S. Rono. Good afternoon, everybody. I've got a short speech from the Council of Governors, and I think I'll just go straight to the speech. Honorable Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome, our Chair of Council of Governors, if at all she's around, Anna Waiguru, Governor, Host Governor Mombasa, if at all is around, Sharif Nasir, Dr. Kiprono Rono, Principal Secretary, State Department of Water and Sanitation, Dr. Moses Kinya, Chairman WASPA, Mr. Anton Ambugo, Chief Executive Officer. I've seen a good friend of mine, PS of Irrigation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you today as the Chair of Water, Forestry and Natural Resources in Kenya, representing the collective voice of the county government in our nation. It is my privilege to address this extremely international conference on technology and innovation in the water and the sanitation sector. Today, I would like to shed light on the critical issue of devolved water services to counties as mandated by Schedule 4 of the Kenya Constitution 2010. This constitutional provision has far-reaching implications for the effective delivery of water and sanitation services in Kenya. And it is imperative that we harness technology and innovation to address the challenges and maximize the opportunities presented by this devolution. Devolution of water services to counties has been a significant milestone in Kenya's governance structure, ushering in a new era of decentralized decision-making and service delivery. This devolved system recognizes that the needs, challenges, and priorities of different regions vary, and that local governments are best positioned to address these unique circumstances. By bringing water services closer to the people, devolution promotes accountability, responsiveness, and citizen participation in the management of this vital resource. However, the devolution of water services has not been without its share of challenges. Transitioning from a centralized system to a decentralized one requires careful coordination, capacity building, and effective institutional frameworks. County governments have had to grapple with limited resources, technical expertise, and infrastructure gaps, which have hindered the provision of adequate and sustainable water and sanitation services to their constituents. Technology and innovation emerge as powerful tools to address these challenges and enable county governments to fulfill their constitutional mandate. By leveraging advancements in technology, counties can improve water resource management, enhance service delivery, and foster transparency and accountability. One area where technology has the potential to revolutionize water services is in data management and information systems. Counties can utilize digital platforms and geographic information systems to collect, analyze, and visualize data on water resources. Infrastructure and service delivery. This data-driven approach enables evidence-based decision-making, resource optimization, and efficient monitoring and evaluation of water projects and programs. Furthermore, innovative technologies can enhance water service provision in remote and marginalized areas. Mobile technology and internet connectivity can be leveraged to establish real-time communication and feedback mechanisms, enabling citizens to report water supply issues, track service delivery, and engage with county governments. This participatory approach empowers communities and strengthens the accountability of service providers. Technology advancements also offer immense potential in water treatment and purification. Counties can explore innovative solutions such as solar-powered water treatment plants, point-of-use filtration systems, and modular sanitation solutions. These technologies not only improve the quality and accessibility of water and sanitation services, but also enhance energy efficiency and reduce environmental impact. Additionally, technology and innovation can support capacity building efforts within county governments. E-learning platforms, virtual training programs, and knowledge sharing networks can equip county officials with the necessary skills and expertise to effectively manage water resources, implement sustainable practices, and navigate the complexities of water governance. However, the effective utilization of technology and innovation in the devolved water services sector requires a supportive police and regulatory framework. National and county governments must collaborate to develop enabling policies, standards, and guidelines that promote the adoption of technology, foster innovation, and ensure interoperability and data sharing among various stakeholders. Furthermore, partnerships between the public and private sectors, academia, civil society organizations, and development partners are essential to leverage resources, expertise, and technology transfer. Such collaborations can facilitate the piloting and scaling up of innovative solutions while also promoting entrepreneurship and local innovation ecosystems. In conclusion, the devolution of water services to counties in Kenya, as mandated by Section 4 of the Constitution, presents both challenges and opportunities. By embracing technology and innovation, county governments can overcome these challenges and maximize the potential of devolution to deliver safe and sustainable water and sanitation services to their constituents. It is imperative that we forget collaborations, foster knowledge exchange, and invest in capacity building to create an ecosystem where technology and innovation thrive. Let us collectively work towards a future where every Kenyan, regardless of their location, has access to safe, managed water and sanitation services. Through our shared commitment and with the transformative power of technology and innovation, we can build resilient, inclusive, and sustainable water systems that leave no one behind. Thank you. God bless you. God bless devolution. Without further ado, because I've heard non-revenue water has risen up to 45%, I am requesting my fellow countrymen, come and benchmark in Taita Taveta. I've got the latest technology on non-revenue water. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor Mwadime. Time for Governor Laikibia. I think we'll join together. You can just wave, Governor Laikibia, so that I can welcome the CS to make her remarks, and then you can launch the impact report. Mwadime, we are together, and Governor Laikibia, we are together on this. Thank you. Welcome, CS.
Thank you, Dr. Rono, PS Water and Sanitation. I have the misfortune of having to launch this impact report when people are hungry, but because you need water and we need to provide services, you'll bear with me, and that's why we are moving very quickly. Thank you, Governor Mwadime, for even the challenge. I'm also challenged to come and benchmark, and thank you for even being here on behalf of Council of Governors. His Excellency, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Principal Secretary Ministry of Water Sanitation, Principal Secretaries for Water, Sanitation, and Irrigation who are here present, the representatives of development partners, directors of boards within our sector, accompanied by their chairmen, or chairmen accompanied by their CEOs, and I have seen several of my chairmen here present, CEC members of the County Assembly, managing directors of water service providers, and of course, the main host, WASPA, the association, represented here by their chairman and also Mr. I call him Wambogo, but I know he's Ambugo, Anthony Ambugo. Give him a clap because I think he has acquired a new name today. Well done, good job. We move very quickly so that we launch this and we go for lunch because we are expecting the Deputy President at 2 p.m. I see we have 20 minutes to launch and also have lunch. So you will find me going very quickly. I'm also informed that we have His Excellency the Ambassador for Israel in this gathering, Michael Lotom. Yes, karibu sana, most welcome. I know we partner a lot with Israel and there is a lot to learn there. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to be here today on this occasion to mark the launch of the 15th issue of Water Services Sector Performance Report, Impact. This is also the first time I'm presiding over this particular event from WASREB, but of course, it's one of the agencies, I would call it so, or institutions working with our ministry. This is not, congratulations for a job well done. I have followed the report, and I think you've done a good job. I wish to start by emphasizing that the task of ensuring universal access to water is huge. The challenge of improving access to sanitation is even more difficult and urgent. The Bill of Rights gives all citizens the right to safe water, basic sanitation, thereby obligating both levels of government, that is the national government and the county government, to realize or help Kenyans realize this right. I know my statement here talks of progressively, but we want to realize these rights like today. That is why these two issues have been prioritized as part of the global agenda to end poverty, fight inequality and injustice, and then also tackle the climate change. However, as many of you have realized, the issue of performance in the water sector is very close to our hearts. Regulation of water services at the national level has the vital role of ensuring that institutions in the water services sector deliver on their mandate. This is done by setting performance targets for the sector institutions and monitoring their realization with a view to improving services to the consumers. Performance assessment is meant to take stock of where the sector is and therefore get guided on areas that require effort to facilitate attainment of both national and global goals. Ladies and gentlemen, Impact 15 2023 reports that the average water coverage was 62% for the period for piped water systems in the regulated utilities, which is an improvement of 2% from 2020-2021, where coverage was 60%. In 2021-2022, the population in the entire service area of regulated utilities was 26.7 million out of the total national population figure of 49.4, meaning 54% of the population, and a decrease of 0.2% points from the figure of 54.3, which was reported in the previous year. The utilities have shown a consistent growth in water coverage in a span of 3 years. However, if we consider all safe water sources, including water boreholes, community water systems, it is estimated the current coverage is 70%. The government is 71%. The government is currently implementing numerous projects in water, sanitation, and irrigation across the country meant to achieve universal coverage. Of course, that is 100% by 2030. Some of the key projects implemented by the national government through my ministry to increase access to water, sanitation, and food security include Karimeno 2 bulk water supply, Mavoko drinking water supply project implemented by the government through ADI and Tanadi Water Works Development Agencies. Viba Dam in Mwea, implemented by the National Irrigation Authority. Yamo Dam, implemented by Northern Water Works Development. Thuake, which is ongoing, under construction at around 83%. And then Mwache Dams that we recently launched, sometimes in April, on 6th of April this year. And of course, I would say that there are other projects, and I hear Mwadime still pushing on the Muzima, and I can confirm that it is a top priority project for the ministry. My ministry has seen an increased number of interested development partners to add voice and to this particular effort, and means that our quest to provide water to citizens is being heard. We have already put out a call for expression of interest, and we have received very good responses to build 100 dams using public-private partnerships. It is noteworthy to mention that Kenya's position in attaining universal access to water and sanitation in line with SDG 6 was one of the key topics at the UN Water Conference held in March this year. We deliberated on the midterm comprehensive review of the implementation objectives of the International Decade for Action 2018-2028. Kenya, my ministry, and other partners participated in this particular water conference. On investments, it is noted that a majority of investments lack the last mile infrastructure. And this is where the water service providers need to listen and tell us how we move together. This presents a challenge since the investment on the first mile without supporting the last mile implies that consumers cannot receive the much needed service. We need, therefore, a coordinated approach. The ministry recently launched an ambitious program to the tune of 995 billion. When I say that, I'm aware that, of course, the total cost is 1.79 trillion shillings, 1.795 trillion shillings. Therefore, posing a big gap in terms of funding. The program is called NAWASIP, which has been developed jointly with the Council of Governors, other partners, and the ministry, together with our development agencies. The World Bank is very interested because it was part of the development in the development stages and has committed to support this particular program, and we thank them for that. To reduce the burden on the exchequer, utilities are therefore encouraged to strive for the self-financing. One way of doing this is through improvement in technical and financial efficiency, and that has been alluded to speakers before me, so that they can become creditworthy or have records that are able to support the development projects as a precondition for accessing branded financing. WASLEB is already championing this with support from development partners. As we continue with these efforts, we take note that the issue of water losses, referred to as non-revenue, is simply water losses. is a big threat to financial sustainability of the sector. The report shows non-revenue water stagnated at 45%. Of course, we have heard that some counties are above that. We want to commend here the counties that are standing at 31%, Nyeri included, and I hope Taveta is in that list. In financial terms, the sector loses 11 billion Kenya shillings annually. And I'm also told that the amount lost annually in terms of volume of water is 205 million cubic meters of water. This is totally unacceptable. I call upon all stakeholders to join the vigorous efforts campaign launched by my ministry to support WASLEB in curbing non-revenue water, which is dubbed as Operation Lipa Maji. Operation Lipa Maji. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I want to commend the water service providers. And as I do that, I want to also challenge you that the onus of ensuring that the service reaches or is accessed by the consumers, by Kenyans, is upon you. We do not have time for small fights, for territorial boundaries or territorial holdings, because all of us have the challenge to provide water. While the national government is pushing the case for water development at a bulk level or bulk water development, management which is sustainable, we require to see equal efforts or much faster efforts in terms of efficiency, appreciating and embracing technology and innovation by the water service providers. The bad practices that have been there, COG, I think it is time that you actually lean in on the water service providers. And I know this is your workshop. I know this is your platform, but I must challenge you, because if we are standing at 45, 50% non-revenue lost water every year, it then means your books are not good, your books do not present a picture that can be supported for funding, and we have to change that. Partners are committed to work with you. My ministry, I as a minister, my principal secretaries, and His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya is very clear on this particular aspect. I think one of the problems is that we have not been insisting as a ministry that once the national government develops the water, then you must pay as a water service provider and pay for it on time, the same way you are being paid possibly on time by consumers. And those who do not pay, of course, face disconnection. We will have to reach a point where, as a country, the water service providers also get disconnections from the water development agencies, because we are moving now to water purchase agreements once we get through with the Water Amendment Act. And this is not to say that we want to be hard on the service providers. We want the service providers to be state-of-the-art institutions to be able to deliver on their mandate. So yes, we will work together. We need to see where the legislation can support your work, but you must completely do away with the mentality or the approach of giving jobs at county level to political inclinations or with political inclinations. You need proper, serious, efficient, professional managers for this water if we are going to move from where we are. We agree with you that huge investment is required, and that's where the national government must partner with you. That's where other partners must partner with you. Our efforts to help in leaning in on people who steal water, who break the system so that they can get a quick commercial benefit, most of the times led by my PS, Dr. Rono, is an effort that should not be taken for granted. And at the same time, is really not our mandate to come and do enforcement. Enforcement, we have provided a police unit that is supposed to give support, and we have given you our political and ministry goodwill that you should proceed that way. But remember, finally, enforcement is upon you. Having said that, we want to see you adopting new technology, new metering, like yesterday, proper systems, refurbishing and renewing the water systems using new innovations so that Kenya can be able to reach where other nations have reached. I do not want to say more than that. We need now to go on to that stage over there so that we can raise this, we can launch this impact report. Once again, I want to commend WASLEP, my ministry, the water development agencies, because I know all this effort was put together, and your partners. I want to commend everybody who has seen this report reach this stage of being launched. We will give maybe a few awards once we launch it, and then His Excellency the Deputy President will give other 2-3 reports as he officially opens this workshop in the afternoon. So once we are done, I'm sure there will be somebody to tell us how we move quickly so that we can be able to catch up on lost time. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Asanteni sana.
Makofi saindi kwa PS, kwa CS wetu. Asante madam. Please, Chairman, WASREP, PS, all the PSs, please. Chair, escort the Honorable CS to the podium where she will launch the report, and WASREP team, take your position for the launching. Let's get going.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. As you get ready to launch the impact issue number 15 here today in Mombasa. Of course, being led by our Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation.
Your Excellency, Madam CS, this is how we are going to proceed. Okay, DJ, shikilia music kidogo. We are going to do an electronic countdown, very brief, just about 30 seconds. And then Madam CS, you'll pick the scissors, cut the ribbon, and everything goes boom. My team, technical team, mko sawa? Haya, tuanze hiyo countdown. Let's all look at the screens. Yes, we started at 11. That is impact number 12. Number 13 is on your screen. Number 14 is there. 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. There we are. Madam CS, this is your chance. Makofi wapi, makofi wapi. Mbwembwe vigelegele, timu yangu fungueni. Unveil the report now, my team, where are you? Mungai, Margaret. Wow, that is impact number 15. We'll see the CS, the PS, the entire team. This is impact number 14, 20. The year is for reporting is 2021, 2022. Mapaparazi sasa, nafasi ni yenu kupiga picha. Wow.
Rajan, VP. 1, 2. Thank you very much, Terry Misheni. from WhatsApp. Let's take the photo. Let's wave the reports. Let's show it to Kenya that here we are. Number 15, all the way from WhatsApp.
Wow, there we are.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sure our team or the battery of journalists around here have managed to get a good shot for that. What a wonderful event we have just had. Of course, led by our board chair, Professor Simeon Gisharu, our CEO, Dr. Julius Itunga. Thank you very much. Of course, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We can take our seats.
Let's take our seat for a moment, please. I hope all the MDs are present. We're going to make a presentation of the best performing utilities. Very, very quickly. And the last three, the top overall three, will be presented by His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. So the way we are going to move, we'll start with the lower levels, but not least. Really, they made it to the final list. Normally, we look at the size. We look at what we call the key performance indicators, the WSPs that have done very, very well in those areas. And I want to start with the WSP, which was the best in reporting. We require WSPs to make quarterly report to the regulator in quite a number of parameters. I won't be able to go through the parameters because of time. And in this category, the best reporting utility was Nakuru Rural Water and Sanitation Company. Makofi kwao. Na nitamuomba CEO wa Kewasnet, if you are around, please come forward quickly and give them their trophy. Followed by the best utility in the pro-poor indicator. Normally we have an indicator, we call it the pro-poor, those who are best focused on the low-income areas. Nobody should be left behind. And in this area, Kisumu Water and Sanitation Companies turned out. MD Kisumu Water, and the trophy will be presented by the country lead, WhatsApp. If there is a representative from WhatsApp, please come forward.
And the MDs, please, let's move forward a little bit faster. Or the reps from Nawasco and Kisumu.
Yeah, wakaribia hapo. I'll be reading very, very fast because of time. The best utility in customer service, again, Kisumu Water and Sanitation turned out. And this will be presented by the CEO, Gatsby Africa, if you are present. Thank you, Wanawariu, a very good supporter in terms of governance. The most improved utility, this is Nanyuki Water and Sanitation Company. Overall best improved. So CEO, Nanyuki Water, MD Nanyuki Water, or chair of the board, or the representative, I can see the governor is also here. And this trophy will be presented by the World Bank representative. I hope the World Bank representative is here. World Bank representative for Kisumu Water.
Yeah, the CS will be almost the last. Then the deputy president. At that time? No, even here because he's here. you know, these are all level. So ile nitamaliza naye ya mwisho ni mwambie. Okay, tuendelee quickly. There was some bit of consultation and we've clarified that. So we are going up the radar, bottom up. So we started in reporting, we are going to more serious things. Not that reporting is not serious, it is. So I've said the most improved is Nanyuki Water and the Sanitation Company, and the World Bank representative will present this. The next one is top utility in non-revenue water management. And the company that stood out in this area is Nyeri Water. Makofi kwa Nyeri Water. And I hope, please, I want, as those who are getting their gifts, they leave the stage so that they can create room for the others. Nyeri Water, yeah, you can see the MD Nyeri Water. They have stood out in this area for a long time. Keep it up. Below 20%. Below 20%. So, Your Excellency, Governor Mwandime, maybe you send your team to Nyeri first, then they can come and up the game in Taita Taveta. But we congratulate you as well. Nyeri is below 20%. Thank you. Okay. So please, can you make a line here as you receive your engineer? Rima, please help me. And then for non-revenue water, the PS water and the sanitation will present that trophy to Nyeri Water. We almost through. I will leave only the top three. Yeah, the top three are here. So I want you to do the number 4 on the top. Oh, okay.
Okay, let's be organized. Yes.
Yes.
Let's be organized and give more space for the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Asili. In a minute.
Let's be organized. Kayamba Africa, if you can begin.
Quickly, please, let's have order. And so, Nyeri Water, or non-revenue water. Then we have the top performing utility, private utility. This is Tatu City Water Company. If there is a representative here, please come forward, and I will request the Governor for Laikipia, Honorable His Excellency Joshua Irongo, to present the trophy for Tatu City. Then we have the utility in the basins. We have organized them in our basins. We have 9 areas, or what we call the regions, where we have WWDAs. And the top utility in Lake Victoria North, Tasases Water Company. And I will request Governor Mwandime to make that presentation to Tatatsis Water Company. Top utility in the coast is Marindi Water. Marindi Water, where are you? Makofi kwa Marindi Water. Tuko Pwani. Na nitamuomba PS Kimodho, PS Irrigation, please make that presentation. Then we have the best utility in Tanathi, Kitui Water. Kitui Water, are you present? Makofi kwao. And I'll request PS from ICT to present that trophy. From Tana region, again, Nyeri was the best. Nyeri Water, Makofi tena kwao, the best in Tana region. Quickly. And I'll request PS, please present to Nyeri Water. Northern region, it is Isiolo Water. Isiolo Water, if you are around, please come forward quickly. And I'll request PS for transport. Please come forward and make that presentation. I gave the names. I don't want to go back unless if it's really very necessary. Now, PS Roads. PS Roads, I think I said Northern Water. Ndio barabara za Northeastern pia sipate barabara haraka haraka. Utility in Lake Victoria South, that is Kisumu Water. Na muje haraka haraka mkichukua mnapigwa picha tafadhali mkiondoka kwa sababu ya time Okay. So Lake Victoria South nimesema Kisumu, Lake Victoria North and was Why didn't we lose the and I would request the guys who are managing the screen, I wish you can be putting it here. As I mentioned, it's there in the PowerPoint. When did we miss the flow? I'm told we missed the flow. Isiolo Water. You know, I was moving fast so that you go for lunch, and we quickly moved to receive the deputy president. Isiolo Water. That is for Northern Kisumu, Lake Victoria South. Hey, Terry, where are the trophies? Okay, quickly, please. Then finally, the one that I want the CS to present.
Yes.
In the ranch category. Yeah, tafadhali.
Pass this side, yeah. Thank you. Next team.
Kisumu umepewa trophy?
Yes.
Okay.
This is for
Isiolo hawako, hakuna mtu wa kuwachukulia. Chairman Waspa.
Chairman Waspa.
I'm sure they are a member of your association.
Or Chairman Waspa is coming, yes.
Yeah, please quickly pick for them.
Yes.
Quickly, Kitui for Tana. If they are not there, the CEO Tana, they can pick on their behalf.
Yes.
Wapi trophy ya Kitui?
Kitui.
Quickly, Nyeri, I hope they picked theirs.
Kitui.
Marindi.
You can give still PS Tonui. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They have
Okay.
CEO Tana Athi.
CEO Tana, they are receive your Kitui.
Thank you.
Central Rift, Nakuru Water and Sanitation Company. Where are you?
Presented by
MD Nakuru Water. Any of the PSs here can present.
Okay.
I'm a governor. Patia Governor Mwadime.
Governor Mwadime.
Where is Governor Irongo?
Nawasco.
Then Adi, Thika Water. Thika Water, I'll request. Where is the chair? Chairman Wasre, please come and present to Thika Water. I know you are a major customer there. Under the ranch category, very ranch category.
See you 1 minute. MD Nawasco, if you are ready, I can see him here. MD Nawasco to be given by
Central
the like keep your governor. Yes.
Nataka trophy ya.
Let's take a photo.
Ya very ranch company ipewe CS.
Thank you.
Na hiyo itaenda kwa Nyeri Water. Wapi trophy ya very ranch? Very ranch patia Madam CS.
Malindi bado CEO.
Where is Maridi?
Oh, Thika. Nanyuki?
Nimeruka ranch, okay. Okay, Nanyuki and Maridi, where are you? Come for your trophy.
Nanyuki, Malindi, where are you?
Where is Nyeri? Nataka wachukuliwe picha na wakichukua trophy yao kwa PS, kwa CS, kwa Madam CS.
Malindi, yeah? Thank you.
Trophy ya Thika for Tana. Trophy ya Thika ya Tana ipewa Chairman Wasrep haraka haraka. Marindi basi ipewa CEO Coast ikiwa hako. Wapi CEO Coast engineer?
CEO Coast Water? Is he here? Okay.
Wapi ya Nyeri? Ya Nyeri for Tana. region. Murisau. Ifeano na Madam CS. Then there is large utility is Nanyuki Water. Okay. Okay, okay.
Okay, see, hold on, Kidogo. Let's clear the backlog. You have received? Yes, let's move this side, Chairman. Thank you. So next is the one with Mwadime, our governor, presented to Malindi Water. Malindi Water, where are you?
Imekosa mwenyewe.
CEO can receive for his behalf.
One more, Madam CS. Madam CS for Nanyuki Lunch Company. Nitaomba MD wa Nanyuki.
Malindi, CEO can receive for Malindi.
Na aje na governor wake.
Malindi Water.
Governor Irongo, please escort your MD to come and receive Malindi his water. Trophy from Madam CS.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So we have only 3 remaining for the number 1, 2, and 3 overall, yes, which will be presented in the afternoon by His Excellency, the Deputy President. I want to take this opportunity to hand over to Madam CS. Please proceed, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for rushing you. Let's have a clap for Dr. Itunga, Julius Itunga. Good job. I now want to, we have a request, and it is acceptable, for Michael Rotem, Ambassador, Your Excellency, the Ambassador for Israel, to come and give your remarks. You were in the program, and the request, because your flight is this afternoon, is accepted. I will ask members to give us just maximum 10 minutes so that we can hear the remarks from his ambassador. Your Excellency, please come forward. Makofi kwake. Lauda tafadhali. Thank you very much.
You know, it's not fair that I'm between you and food. So as we are expecting Honorable Deputy President Gachagua, the Honorable Alice Wahamom, CS Water, Sanitation, and Irrigation, PS, CS, governors, I'm given 10 minutes, I will do it even quicker. So I did prepare a few notes. So one thing that I will change, I will begin from the end, not from the beginning. And my bottom line is that, unfortunately, in spite of the fact that Israeli companies and consultants work in Australia, in Russia, in China, in the US, of course, in Europe, and in many parts of Africa, we are not very present here, apart from irrigation. And I think that we can contribute, and we want to cooperate with you in different fields. And since I have to supply some data, as we saw today, I will try to run very quickly through some of the facts that will highlight the Israeli water market. But one thing before, I must stand with P.S. Rono when he was talking about management, because very often people come to us Israelis on technology, but management comes before technology. So we are not a very big state, you know. We are about 24,000 square kilometers with approximately 10 million people. That's all. But what do we do? And how is the water sector? So the water sector in Israel is run by the Water Authority under the Ministry of Infrastructure, Water and Energy. They do the planning, the development, management, allocation, setting of tariffs, allocation of production rights, and so on. Some basic facts. Rainfall in Israel is about 7 billion cubic meter yearly, annually. Out of this, about 25% is being stored above the ground, and below the ground in the aquifer, roughly 500 billion cubic meters. million cubic meters, of course. 700 million cubic meters comes from desalination, seawater desalination. I will come to it very soon. And we irrigate approximately 700,000 acres. This is irrigated agriculture. Not all agriculture is irrigated. I'm giving you these numbers because very often people talk about Israeli irrigation agriculture. Consumption. Domestic is 900 million cubic meters yearly. Industry is 200, and agriculture 1.2 billion. 1.2. The cost per person, up to 3.5 cubic meters monthly, we pay the equivalent of 260 shillings. If you go beyond, you double. I mean, you pay double, of course. Agriculture, we have allocation for farmers. It goes either equivalent of 48 shillings per cubic meters, or 102, depends on the allocation. The average daily consumption in Israel is 150 liters. Now, we also suffer drought. When do we term a period as drought? When we get less than 25% precipitation. That's drought for us. And the worst drought in the last 100 years was between 2004 and 2011. And what did we do with this drought? Maybe before what we did, I'll give you an example how severe it was. The Sea of Galilee, which is the biggest water reservoir, was the biggest water reservoir, water supplier in Israel, used to feed the system with 450 million cubic meters, but because of the drought, it went down to 40. So that was a very severe drought. And what did we do? What the government decided to do is to launch very big seawater desalination plants, which brings us today to almost seven. In a few months, we will launch the 7th desalination plant. The first was commissioned in 2005, which is today supplies 115 million cubic meters per year at the cost of $0.82. Sorek 1, which was commissioned a couple of years ago, is 150 million cubic meters annually. The cost went down to $0.57. And the coming one, which is the biggest in the world, which will supply 200 million cubic meters, the cost will be $0.45. The aim is to have, by 2030, more than 90% of all our domestic use supplied by the sea. Which reminds me a nice story. I think it was 20 years ago, the then chairman of the Palestinian Authority, wanting to curse Israelis, he said, "You Israelis go and drink the sea." And as you see, we took it very seriously. Water treatment and sewage treatment, which was mentioned here so much today, is a key element in our agriculture. 95% of the sewage in Israel is 99 is collected, 95% is treated, which irrigates about 50% of our agriculture. Just to give you an idea, agriculture export in Israel accounts for about 2% of the GDP, which is $1 billion. Half of it is irrigated with treated sewage, which is, of course, fine, and we sell these nice products all over the world. I recently read even that in Adelaide, in Australia, they ran an experiment which proved that tomatoes like better treated sewage than fresh water. Areas of cooperation between Kenya and Israel. Master plans, national or regional, county, any level. Management of water reservoirs, above the ground and under the ground. When we treat the wastewater of the Tel Aviv area, which takes about almost half of the sewage quantity volume in Israel. It goes to secondary treatment, inserted into the sand and pumped down 30 kilometers south. And we manage the aquifer, the seashore aquifer and the mountain aquifer, and we would love to cooperate with you and to share knowledge. Water security, cyber security in Israel is a dramatic area because we are experiencing massive attacks on our water installations. Finance and economy, how you make money out of water and not lose money. Wastewater treatment, which I mentioned, irrigation, of course, desalination, and again, a topic that was mentioned here over and over again, non-revenue water. In Israel, the loss is 2%, and we managed to bring it down from 8 over the last 6 years, so we stand at 2%. And last but not least, education. The government went through a massive campaign, public campaign, to teach and educate people, students, how to save water, how to better keep water. What do the Israeli companies prefer? Israeli companies, like any other company, prefers to do nice profits. Usually they would prefer EPC base or EPC plus F. Israeli companies bring finance wherever they work in hundreds of millions. And of course, it has to be addressed to the specific case. And I hope that we will be able to integrate into the future plans in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, His Excellency the Ambassador of Israel, for that presentation. As you said earlier, as we come towards our lunch break, I would wish we request now a break for lunch. I know most of us are feeling like we should take a break. Let me not take so much time. Let me make some few announcements. I'm informed that our lunch will be served at Baraza Lawns, just next to the entrance, the other opposite side of the road. So as you move out, kindly, you need to pick your ticket or your meal voucher. It's very important. You need to show your badge, and then they'll issue you with a meal.